Douluo, leave everything on autopilot and become a god. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201. Early the next morning, Hu Jiu was called up by Tang San. The Shrek 9 monsters gathered, had breakfast together, and then went to the academy for class. In other words, this was the first time Hu Jiu went to class seriously since he came to Heavendale City. Douluo and the others have been in class for half a year, and after Tang San came back, he also took a few days of class. Hey, why didn't you see that old Douluo? Hu Jiu asked curiously after habitually turning on the 5 sense enhancement technique and sensing the surrounding aura. He left a few days ago. He said there was something to deal with and he will come to see us later. Tang San explained. Oh, he's going fast. Hu Jiu muttered. I don't know where Tang Heo has gone. I haven't seen anyone for so long. He was expecting Tang Heo to beat him up. If I can't wait for him to come, I can only avenge myself. Isn't it a title, Douluo? After a few years, he and Xiao have both become Soul Douluo. After the fusion of martial arts, it is easy to challenge the challenge. Forget it. Tell me about the college's system. You know, I haven't taken a class since I came here. Hu Jiu looked up at everyone. I really envy the 9th brother and the 3rd brother. We haven't been in class for a long time. We've been suffering. It's been the first half of the year. Mahanjan looked at them with envy. Heh, you thought you were brother 9th? Oscar mocked Fatty and then said to Hu Jiu enthusiastically, hey, there's actually nothing in the system. The main thing is that there are too many beauties. They all say that Shrek has few beauties, but I found out more than half of the students in the academy are women, and it is said that they are all here for Vice President Liu Erlong. Well, the quality of the beauties here is really good, but it's a pity the 9th brother is a family man now. So, it's better to be single. Damu Bei said with a smile. Xiao. Ayo, boss day, pay attention. Don't teach my family Xiao Jiu, or my fists will not recognize people. Xiao threatened Hu Jiu's arm with a smile. Yes, Xiao is careful. The 9th brother is not a good person. If you want me to say, among us, only the 3rd brother is the most honest. Ning Rangrang jokingly Xiao and also praised Tang San. Yoha, let me see. Our little San has finally been praised, and she's still a beauty. Hu Jiu became irritated and said to Tang San jokingly, little San, good chance. It's rare for Rangrang to know you so well. What should I do? Get started. Haha, I'll see it. Support Xiaozhen. Damu Bei followed suit. What are you talking about? Rangrang, don't listen to their nonsense. Tang San looked at Hu Jiu and Damu Bei angrily. Aren't you talking about the academy system? How do you come here? It's up to me. Xiao's cheerful voice sounded, and she began to explain. In the academy, there are a total of 6 classes. They are divided according to different levels. As long as a level is reached, you can skip a level at any time without passing the exam. Only when you graduate, there are 2 exams, one for actual combat, and one for graduation tasks. According to there are 3 classes for grades 20 to 25, with the largest number of people, about 120 people in total. There are 2 classes for grades 25 to 30, about 80 people, and grades 30. The above is a class, which is a senior class. Counting us, there are only 30 people, and most of them are much older than us. Some are even over 30 years old. Mahanjan said triumphantly, that's the difference. How can someone like them reach title Douluo? Heh, you're amazing. What do you compare with these people? You have to compare with those geniuses and arrogances, just like your 9th brother and me, the same age, and now you are the king of souls. You don't know Fatty, work harder. It's been so long, and it's still 41. How can you be my little brother in the future? Hu Jiu sensed Fatty's cultivation and found that he was actually the one with the lowest spirit power among the Shrek 9 monsters, and even Ning Rangrang, who had the lowest cultivation, surpassed him. 9th brother, I've worked very hard. I'm not lazy. The fat man called out. One thing to say, Fatty is really not lazy. I can testify about this. Daimube smiled. I didn't get lazy and didn't work hard, right? I understand. I'll suggest to the teacher later and let him give you a special training. Hu Jiu didn't know Fatty's virtues. He was the one who didn't pursue Shrek the most. No, brother Jiu. The fat man almost cried when he heard this. The class bell rang and a group of people walked into the classroom talking and laughing. Because of his young age, he is a little shorter than other students in terms of height, so the position is arranged by the teacher at the front point. As soon as he entered the classroom, Hu Jiu noticed that some eyes fell on him, or in other words, on the arm held by Xiao Wu. Ha. Hu Jiu chuckled lightly, met those unkind eyes, turned to Daimube and said, Boss Day, what's going on? Don't tell me you can't even handle a group of students. Daimube glared fiercely at the burly boys at the back of the classroom. Helplessly spread out his hands and said, it's not my fault. These people are not idiots. Since they know my level, they have not come to mess with me, and I can't pee with them. Oh, it turned out to be some bullying and fearing the hard. The latter ones. It seems that you don't welcome me very much. It's okay. You can stand up if you have any opinions. Hu Jiu's eyes flashed a light. It seems that this is what Taelong is, and if he dares to make Xiao Wu's idea, he is tired of living. Xiao Wu is his ban. Whoever dares to attack him, he will attack anyone. Snapped. As soon as Hu Jiu finished speaking, a burly and muscular young man sitting at the back of the classroom slapped the table fiercely and stood up. Boy, who are you talking about? Are you courting death? Whoever answers will say whoever. Hu Jiu chuckled lightly. He turned his head and gave Daimube a wink. Boss Day, do you still remember your motto? It's mediocrity to not dare to cause trouble. I've given you a task, no matter what method you use. The people in this class have convinced me. Okay. A light flashed in Daimube's evil eyes. He had long wanted to do this kind of thing. Daimube, what are you trying to do? We haven't offended you. Taelong's eyes flashed a trace of fear. Daimube's strength is too strong, and he is a big realm above him. He can't beat him. If he could have beaten it, he would have jumped out long ago. So why wait until today? Hu Jiu pulled Xiao Wu to find a seat and sat down, looking at Taelong's frantic look with great interest. Haha, you haven't offended me, but you have offended our ninth brother. Let's do it. I'll give you 3 moves. Daimube rubbed his wrist and said domineeringly. Chapter 202. Ninth brother? You are their boss. How is this possible? Taelong's eyes widened, and he exclaimed in disbelief. He knew that Daimube belonged to a group, but he had always heard other people call Daimube the boss Day. As a result, he now tells him that the boss Day is not the boss, and their boss is someone else. Why? Do you have an opinion? Brother Ninth is our boss. Mahanjan looked at Taelong carelessly, turned to Daimube and said, Boss Day, you don't need to take action. How about giving him to me? I want to let him go. He knows what will happen if he offends ninth brother. Now is an opportunity to perform. If brother 9 makes him happy, maybe the special training from Xiao Wauqi can be avoided. Haha, can you do it? Daimube turned away from Fatty, a little uneasy. He knows that boy Taelong, even though his level is only over 30, but Wuhan is a gorilla known for his strength and defense, and his strength is not weak. Of course, a man can't say no. The fat man patted his chest and promised loudly. Here, after Hu Jiu sat on the seat, he found that the kitten was sitting in a remote corner, looking lonely, zuking. Hu Jiu beckoned to her, patted the seat next to him and said, come here and sit. What are you doing hiding in the corner, Zhu? Zuking looked at Hu Jiu coldly, stood up obediently, swayed, and walked over with a mature catwalk. Aren't you afraid of Xiao Wu being jealous? Zhu Zuking's eyes flashed, and his voice was full of playfulness. Why are you jealous? Hu Jiu said with a guilty conscience. I think you are too out of place. Besides, you are my junior sister. It is normal to sit with senior brother. In this way, you can hug from left to right, right? Beside Hu Jiu, Xiao Wu's teeth grinding voice sounded. How could it be? Hu Jiu smirked and was about to make a quibble. No, when he explained Taelong rescued him. Damn, how dare you underestimate me. Taelong's face flushed red, and he shouted angrily, "It's too bullying, the level is amazing, the big deal is that the fish die and the net breaks. What if you underestimate you? You are not even a soul sect, you dare to provoke our ninth brother, you are tired of living." Oscar looked at Taelong jokingly, and silently mourned for him. It's not good to provoke anyone, but I want to provoke brother Jiu, courting death. I'm looking for him, and it has nothing to do with you. Facing the combined persecution of Damu Bei and Mahanjan, Taelong took 2 steps back. Suddenly, Yu Guan glanced at Hu Jiu. From his point of view, Damu Bei and Mahanjan were tall and fat, with higher levels, so it was normal for him to be unable to fight. But Hu Jiu had the appearance of a small white face, and his body was not strong, and most of them were not of high grade. If you lose, you won't lose, so you're right to find him. But he never thought about why even Damu Bei would recognize him as the boss, when Hu Jiu seemed harmless to humans and animals. Do you want to fight me? Hu Jiu raised his head and asked with a chuckle. Taelong's expression brightened. He nodded hurriedly and shouted, "Yes, no one can sit beside Xiao Wu. Who will allow you to sit?" Snapped. Xiao Wu patted the table and stepped on the seat, looking like a big sister. "Do you want to beg for a fight? Get out of here, or Sister Xiao Wu will take care of you." Xiao Wu scolded her with her hands on her hips. Finally, Xiao Jiu came back to accompany her. Taelong, this bastard, came to disturb them. Xiao Wu could not wait to press Taelong to the place and beat her hard. Taelong's body trembled when he heard the words. He was someone who had been cleaned up by Xiao Wu, and he had a natural fear of angry Xiao Wu in his heart. But seeing Hu Jiu's look beside Xiao Wu, Taelong's face couldn't hold back. "Xiao Wu, this is a matter between men. Don't worry about it." Hehe. Hu Jiu raised the corners of his mouth, showing a strange expression. "Very well, I admit, you finally annoyed me. Wait, I will clean you up after class." Dare to grab Xiao Wu in front of him. How daring. Everyone in Shrek looked at Tyrone in amazement, with pity on their faces. This man is afraid that his brain is not good. You guys, what are your expressions? Taelong was seen by them with hair all over his body. Could it be that this Hu Jiu is a master? At this moment, a teacher walked into the door of the classroom. This person Hu Jiu was familiar with. She was Shrek's original teacher, the food system soul sage with the jelly bean spirit, Teacher Xiaozin. "Hey, Xiao Jiu, your kid is finally coming to class." Seeing Hu Jiu, Xiaozin's chubby face was full of smiles. He was also a food soul master, and Xiaozin had a good impression of him. If it wasn't for Xiao Waoqi to take the lead, maybe Hu Jiu would have already become his disciple. "Mr. Xiaozin, long time no see." Hu Jiu nodded friendly. Seeing that Xiaozin, the soul saint, was so friendly to Hu Jiu, the students in the classroom all looked at him with strange eyes, guessing the origin of Hu Jiu. Taelong felt a little regretful in his heart. If he had known him, he would have asked about Hu Jiu's origin. "Okay, let's go to class." Xiaozin patted the table and started to explain the course. Xiaozin's courses are mainly aimed at food type soul masters, which is exactly the counterpart of Hu Jiu's major. In particular, the theoretical knowledge of the role of food type soul masters in battles and battlefields gave Hu Jiu a deeper understanding of food type soul masters. Hu Jiu was interested, but the others were not at all interested in the food department. Just like Tang San, who was sitting behind Hu Jiu. This kid pretended to be listening carefully, but he was actually meditating. Having learned distraction control, it's not difficult for him to do it. What? After cultivating for a while, Tang San suddenly felt something was wrong. How to cultivate? The speed is so much faster. It is the same as the effect of cultivation in the eyes of Binghuo Liangai. This is not normal. Frowning, Tang San looked at Hu Jiu thoughtfully. He felt that this problem should lie with Hu Jiu. It seemed that Hu Jiu had already obtained the treasure in the eyes of Binghuo Liangai. Also, if he didn't get the things, how could Xiao Jiu come back so early? Thinking of this, Tang San became interested. If it weren't for the class, he would have grabbed Hu Jiu and asked him to understand. A class passed quickly. After class, Hu Jiu stood up and said to Taelong at the back of the classroom, "That kid, come out." Hearing Hu Jiu shout, Taelong did not show weakness and walked out of the classroom with a few followers on Hu Jiu's side. Damu Bei and the others walked out together with the mentality of watching a good show. Seeing that a fight was about to happen, the courageous students in the classroom let up and quietly followed under the leadership of Hu Jiu. A group of people came to the woods behind the teaching building. "Don't waste time, let's get started." Hu Jiu turned to look at Taelong, but he thought about how much strength he should use when he would make a move. With the realm of his Soul King, hitting a soul venerable who is 2 big realms away from him is simply bullying people. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Unyielding Taelong. Taelong, Martial Soul Vigorous Guerrilla, 37th level Assault Type Battle Soul Venerable. Please advise. Taelong clasped his fists with both hands and took the lead in reporting his martial spirit and level. He is not a fool, and it is the best way to report the grade without knowing the details of Hu Jiu. In the competition, one side reports the grade if the other side does not report. This is extremely impolite behavior, and it will be cast aside. Haha. Hu Jiu looked at Taelong with a light smile. This kid is not stupid, but it's okay to scare him. Hu Jiu, Wuhan Hushan, 56th level Food Type Soul Master, level 56. Taelong opened his mouth wide and cried out in surprise. How is this possible? Is he a monster? Hu Jiu's age can be seen at a glance. He is definitely not more than 15 years old, but he is a 56th level Food Type Soul Master. Hey, Food Type, you from the food department? Taelong probed. Why, there is no rule that the food department cannot participate in the battle. Hu Jiu said flatly, "No, I can't fight you." Taelong shook his head with a serious face. "Although I, Taelong, are not a good person, I also have my own bottom line. I will not fight a Food Type Soul Master." Joke. No matter what kind of Spirit Master, if the level is too different, even the pressure of spirit power can overwhelm him. So a fool would fight against such a pervert. Hu Jiu and others were stunned by Taelong's shamelessness. I have seen shameless people, but I have never seen such a righteous and shameless person. It's alright, it doesn't matter. Hu Jiu pointed to Damu Bei and the others behind him. They are all my partners. You can choose not to fight with me. You can choose any of these people, as long as they are not auxiliary spirit masters. I don't fight. I have a debt and a debt. They have no conflict with me. I, Taelong, is not such a person. Taelong said righteously. At this time, Taelong had already recognized the facts and knew that he could not afford to offend any of these people. After getting along for half a year, he already knew the level of the other Shrek 9 devils, and none of them had a level lower than 40. You playing with me? Hu Jiu's face sank, and they all came to the door. It was impossible not to be beaten. Fatty, don't give me face, hit me harder. Hu Jiu is not afraid of Taelong. Isn't it because he beats the young, and comes the old, and beats the old, and comes the old? Don't be afraid, shake people. It seems that no one can. Just take this opportunity to take a look at the martial arts fusion skills of Flender and Liu Erlang. No matter how bad it is, you can close the door and let Tang San go. As long as Tang San's clear sky hammer came out, even Taelong's grandfather would have to kneel. Haha. Taelong, it's unlucky for you, boy. Whoever is not good to offend is going to offend brother Jiu. Let go of your martial spirit, Ma. Hangjin laughed loudly, with a ferocious smile on his face. Phoenix, possessed, with Hu Jiu's order, Fatty didn't do well. On the spot, he was possessed by his martial spirit. His whole body rose with aura. His hands turned into phoenix claws, and a pair of illusory phoenix wings behind him set him off, as if he were possessed by a fire god. You are pushing people too hard. Taelong's face was a little ugly, and it seemed that he would not be able to fight at this time. Strong orangutan, possessed, with A low growl. Taelong's already sturdy body swelled again, especially the muscles on his arms, which almost doubled in size. At the same time, his arms extended, hanging down to his knees, and black hairs were exposed on the exposed areas. Look at the move. Mahanjan didn't use his soul skills. He kicked with his feet. His hands were claws, and he went straight to Taelong. Humph. Compare your strength with me. I'm afraid you won't succeed. Taelong's eyes flashed with a gleam, and he stretched out his arm, which was about the size of his thigh, and clenched his fist to meet him. Point boom. The fists and claws clashed. Mahanjan didn't take a step back, but Taelong stepped back 3 steps. How is it possible that you actually surpass me in strength? Taelong couldn't accept this fact point. Although Mahanjan is a level higher than him, he is a pure power spirit master. All spirit rings are added strength. How could he be inferior to him in strength? Haha, what's impossible? Let alone young master. I'm a level higher than you. Even at the same level, you can't compare to me. Do you know that young master's martial spirit is a top level martial spirit? Phoenix, you are the only one. How about a gorilla? Fatty is talking big. In fact, if he hadn't become a soul sect, even a top-level martial soul phoenix would not necessarily be able to compare with pure power spirit masters in terms of strength. Point. However, brag about it. It's not illegal. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Ha. Watch it. Tyrone shook his head frantically, not believing that he couldn't fight against the opponent at all. Point. Raising his fist, he roared and greeted him again. Hey, come here. Mahanjan was overjoyed when he rarely encountered an opponent who could bully, and he struck out his chicken paw again, regretting Taelong's fist. Point. Bang 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 bang. Tyrone seemed to be crazy, and immediately got up after being defeated, and continued to attack without admitting defeat. Point. A quarter of an hour later, Taelong was knocked down at least 100 times, and his face was even more bruised. Point. Even so, Taelong did not give up, and got up, and fought again with firm eyes. Mahanjan was taken aback by this crazy fighting intent. 9th. Brother, what should I do if this fool never admits defeat? Fatty asked with a numbskull. Point. He kind of regrets taking this errand. This man is simply dying. Oh, it's not that simple. Just get stunned. Hu Jiu won't be used to this kind of person. If he can't beat him, he can't beat him, and he's still not convinced even if he loses. Okay, Mahanjan won't be much better at this meeting. This Taelong is too crazy. He would rather hit him if he is injured. Mahanjan will almost become a pig's head at this time. Point. Hearing Hu Jiu's method, he was immediately shocked. Taking advantage of Taelong's time to get up, he jumped over, rode on Taelong, and slammed him on his head a few times, knocking him out. Fatty, take it easy, don't break people. Damube looked at Mahanjan with a strange expression. He didn't expect that Fatty would be so cruel. Bah, this damn lunatic. It's better to break it. Mahanjan angrily wiped the corners of his mouth, spread his hands, and looked at them, all bleeding. You guys, take him to the infirmary for me. Hu Jiu ordered, looking at Taelong's valet. Okay. Seeing that the boss was knocked unconscious, the younger brothers didn't dare to say much, and immediately carried Taelong to the infirmary. Let's go to dinner. No one in Shrek took seriously the matter of knocking Taelong out. Tang San immediately stood up and said to everyone when he saw that the matter was over, okay, I've been hungry for a long time. Hu Jiu, let's go out to eat today. There's no class in the afternoon anyway. Wu jumped up happily after hearing this. Okay, it's the old rules. Boss Day treats you. Hu Jiu snapped his fingers and arranged it immediately. Damube's evil eyes widened. No way. 9th brother, among us, you are the richest. Chapter 204. Ning Feng's he is coming. Hey, I'm not rich. My money is still going to be used to buy soul bones. Once I buy it, it's gone. Hu Jiu shook his head and joked. Besides, we won't help you anyway. You're spending it too. It's on those women. I'm saving money for you. Day. Nube looked at Hu Jiu dejectedly. Can this be the same? I'm saving those innocent girls and doing good deeds. Haha. Boss Day's proposal is good. I also want to do good things. Boss Day, bring me one. Mahanjan nibbled Shengwan Hu ginseng in his mouth and patted his big belly with a smile. How could such a good thing not go without me? I'll go too. Oscar smiled, turned to Tang San and said, "Third brother, ninth brother definitely can't go. You can come with us later." Hearing this, Tang San hurriedly shook his head. "I'll forget it. I wish you all a good time. I want to take a stroll in Heavendale City to see if there are any rare ores here." Mu Bei and the others had no scruples. Even in front of Zhu Zuking, Ning Rangrong, and Meng Yiren, they dared to speak freely. Fortunately, the girls are used to it, and there is no expression for this, because there is no emotion. It is as simple as that. Mu Bei's side was okay to say, because from the beginning, Hu Jiu had confused him, and Zhu Zuking. Oscar didn't care either, with Hu Jiu's transformation carrot. He felt a little bit of taste, and he didn't have any feelings for a little girl like Ning Rangrong who didn't grow up. He prefers a gentle and considerate big sister. The keywords a big point. As for the fat man Mahanjan, he can only be blamed for his unsatisfactory performance. After such a long time, he and Meng still had no progress at all. Fatty also wanted to save face. In the end, he simply gave up on himself and returned to his original rambunctious form. Together with Mu Bei and Oscar, they specially rescued the big sister who needed to be rescued. "Let's eat first. I'll go home later, and I'll invite everyone to dinner tomorrow," Ning Rangrong said to Hu Jiu mysteriously. "Ninth brother, third brother, wait for me to come back and introduce someone to you." "Oh." Hu Jiu's expression changed. "What do you want to do? Shouldn't you take me to see your dad? Your dad knows about our business." "Ninth brother, what are you talking about?" Hu Jiu joked. Shining Rangrong stomped his feet and then explained, "The main thing is to discuss a business with the third brother, and my dad also wants to see you, by the way." "Oh, since I'm looking for a mistress, then I won't go. If a person like me is so good, if your dad takes a fancy to him and wants to recruit him as a son-in-law, he'll suffer." Hu Jiu shook his head and refused. Ning Fengzi had Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo by his side, and it was too late for Hu Jiu to hide from them. These two titled Douluos are not parallel imports like Poison Douluo. They are both above level 95. If they see Xiao Wu, they will definitely be able to recognize Xiao Wu's true identity. Hu Jiu thinks about the consequences. "Don't even think about it. No, I'll send Xiao Wu to Liu Erlang's other courtyard first, so that she can't hide inside." Hu Jiu thought, while rubbing her chin. "Brother Jiu, just meet me. My father is very interested in you." Ning Rangrong didn't know what Hu Jiu was thinking. Seeing Hu Jiu's rejection, he came to him and hugged his arm coquettishly. Due to Hu Jiu's warning, Ning Rangrong never said anything about Hu Jiu's cultivation of ginseng, but he didn't hide anything about his level. His father, Ning Fengzi, knew the level of Shrek's 9 monsters. It is precisely because of this that Ning Fengzi is very interested in Hu Jiu, the food type soul master, and has always wanted to recruit him into the sect. But for the past 6 months, Hu Jiu also and Tang San have been hiding in the eyes of ice and fire, and they have no chance. Yeah. Seeing Ning Rangrong holding Hu Jiu's arms coquettishly, Xiao Wu immediately became alert and looked at Ning Rangrong's hands, motionless. "Don't get me wrong, Xiao Wu, Ning Rangrong let go of her hand embarrassedly and hurriedly explained to Xiao Wu, "Rangrong, I'm not such a stingy person. Why are you so nervous?" Xiao Wu waved her arms in a big way, looking like a big sister. She didn't seem to care. But his teeth were itching fiercely, and he wished to kick Ning Rangrong into the air and keep her away from Xiao Jiu. "Okay, don't talk about it, Boss Day. Hurry up and choose a place. Let's eat quickly and then split up." Hu Jiu changed the subject, raised his head, and gave Mu Bei a wink. Mu Bei smiled and nodded. "Okay, come with me. I know a hotel tastes good." Under the leadership of Mu Bei, they found a luxury hotel. Mu Bei waved his hand and ordered a table of delicious food. "Sure enough, we still have to follow Boss Day before we can eat meat." When the dishes were ready, Hu Jiu grabbed a chicken leg and gnawed his mouth full of oil. In terms of enjoyment, among them, Mu Bei was the most powerful. Of course, the little princess Ning Rangrong was not bad either. Both of them were rich. very angry. Haha, what the ninth brother said, mine is yours. If it wasn't for the ninth brother to take care of me, I wouldn't be where I am today, so don't be polite. Damubei said sincerely. Point at present, he is already level 48. As far as he knows, his brother Davis is also level 47. In terms of level, he already has an advantage. If the two start a fight, it is hard to say who will win. But there is a fight for sure. He believed that, as long as he followed Brother 9 all the time, it was certain to surpass Davis. Maybe the next time he saw Davis, he would already be able to crush him. Damubei's words made Zhu King on the other side also raise his head, his cold eyes filled with special emotions. If Hu Jiu noticed something, he turned his head to meet Kata's bright eyes. Seeing Hu Jiu's gaze, Zhu King hurriedly lowered his head, pretending to be eating, but for some reason, his ears turned red. Hu Jiu's eyes were very good. And he just saw this scene, those snow white ears. The snow white is delicate, with a layer of very fine fluff on it. The ear beads are crystal clear, with pink in the white. After swallowing, Hu Jiu hurriedly lowered his head, feeling more appetite. Fortunately, this scene was not seen by Xiao Wu, otherwise she would be in a hurry again. However, Ning Rangrang was sitting next to Zhu King, and she could not miss the small movements of Hu Jiu and Zhu King. With a mysterious smile on the corner of her mouth, she suddenly thought of a way to let Hu Jiu see her. Farther after a sumptuous lunch, Damubei, Oscar, and Mahanjan huddled shoulder to shoulder to find happiness. Before leaving, they were still at Hu Jiu's place to soften and harden them and take away a few ginsengs, but they didn't know what to use. I'm going back to the academy with Xiao Wu. How about you? Hu Jiu asked. I'm going to find Dad and come back tomorrow. Ning Rangrang replied. Tang San raised his head and said, I'm shopping outside. Before that, he had only briefly discussed cooperation intentions with Ning Rangrang. As for the specific plan, he needed to inspect the blacksmith shop in Heavendale City. I'm fine too. Let's go back to the academy to practice. Seeing that everyone was looking at him, Meng still regained his senses and showed a smile. Chapter 205 Auction House. As for Zhu King, no one asked her. She is a cultivator who is currently sprinting towards the 42 level. Every day, she does nothing but practice. Next, Tang San and Ning Rangrang left again, leaving only Hu Jiu, Xiao Wu, Zhu King, and Meng Yan'an to return to the academy together. When passing a street, I found a huge circular building next to it, like a half-buckled bowl. The diameter is at least close to 500 meters, and the highest point is more than 80 meters, almost catching up with the scale of the big battlefield. Jiu, what is this place? Xiao Wu asked curiously. Oh, that's the auction house, Hu Jiu said casually. Then, let's go and have a look. Okay. Didn't you say that there will be a soul bone auction in the auction house? What if we are lucky enough to meet? Xiao Wu suddenly became interested. Let's see. Hu Jiu didn't refuse. He activated the 5 sense enhancement technique to sense the aura of the auction house, and after realizing that there was no title Douluo, he immediately felt relieved, nodded and said, okay, it's fine anyway, let's go shopping. Okay, soul bones are something that can be met, but not sought after. Hu Jiu is very interested in them. He doesn't care about the age of the soul bones. As long as the function is practical, he needs them. Anyway, for him, the soul bones can be hung up just like the spirit bone of his head. With the improvement of the spiritual impact spirit ability, the age of the spirit bone also increases. So far, it is close to the 10,000 year lifespan. The difference between the 1,000-year spirit bone and the 10,000-year spirit bone is huge. There will be a significant improvement in the capacity. Zhu King, let's go shopping together. Hu Jiu invited. Meng still shrugged and said indifferently, okay, there's nothing to do anyway. Zhu King hesitated for a moment, nodded lightly, and acquiesced to Hu Jiu's invitation. Then, let's go. Xiao Wu pouted quietly and then became happy again. When encountering novel places, Xiao Wu couldn't care less about being jealous. A group of 4 came to the door of the auction house. When I got closer, I realized that the gate of the auction hall was actually made of white jade, which looks high-end and atmospheric, which made people's eyes shine. In front of the gate, 4 tall girls stood on either side with charming smiles on their faces. These girls were obviously carefully selected. Not only were they all about 1.75 meters tall, but they were all very well proportioned. Although they were not stunning, their good looks were still very attractive. They looked like they were no more than 20 years old. She was wearing a floor-length dress, covering even her arms, not exposing more than a cent of her skin, but the dress was close-fitting and fully outlined their graceful curves. The snow-white dress is embroidered with silver patterns, and the patterns are vaguely written. The movements of the 4 girls are exactly the same, with their hands in front of them and smiling, which makes people feel good at first sight. Seeing them, one of the 4 girls took 2 steps forward, bowed slightly, and asked kindly, "Welcome, do you need any help?" "Well, we want to go to the auction to see." Hu Jiu said, "Okay, do you have an auction qualification certificate? If not, you need to apply for it in advance." The girl did not despise Hu Jiu because of her age. After all, they were strictly trained. "What is an auction qualification certificate?" Xiao Wu asked curiously. The girl smiled slightly and explained, "That's right. Only guests who have the qualification certification can enter the auction hall to bid. The qualification certification is divided into several different levels, and the entry threshold is 10,000 gold soul coins. That is to say, you need an asset proof of 10,000 gold soul coins to participate in the auction. This is to avoid someone malicious bidding has to set up. Please forgive me. Oh, look down on people, don't you?" Hu Jiu flipped his fingertips, and a black stored value card appeared between his fingers. "Do you think you are qualified now?" When the girl saw the black card, the smile on her face became even more charming. This kind of black card can only be handled if the deposit amount is tens of thousands. Hu Jiu has a black card, and of course he is eligible to participate in the auction. "Yes, please come with me." Led by the girl, the 4 walked into the auction. There is no sense of splendor in the auction hall. The ground is milky white marble, and the surrounding walls are decorated with various reliefs, and there are not many colors on the reliefs. It looks simple, bright and extremely elegant. Except for the relief, there are also some built-to wall shop windows. There are some exhibits such as porcelain and armor. If they didn't know what this place was for, I'm afraid they thought it was a museum. The girl who leads the way is very professional. Every 10 steps or so, she will stop and make a gesture of invitation to guide the direction accurately. "Please, go through the formalities with me first. To participate in our auction, you need to apply for an auction qualification card. This card is connected to the stored value card. Only in this way can you avoid the trouble of malicious bidding." The girl explained. It is good. The procedure was not complicated. They completed it quickly, and not only did Hu Jiu apply for the card, but also Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuking, and Meng Yan. After completing the formalities, they came to the real core of this Xiandao auction house. The auction center is located on the 2nd floor of the auction house. There are 8 stairs to enter from the hall. Before entering the auction hall, the reception girl gave each of the 4 a mask, telling them that they need to wear a mask to enter the auction in the future. This is for the safety of customers. Next time, no one will host them again. The girl kept sending the 2 to the entrance of the auction center before turning around and leaving. There was another waiter in the auction center. The other waiter was awesome. It was also a white dress, and it was still a skirt, but it gave people a completely different feeling from the girl just now. White skirt with large open front and sleeveless. The short skirt just passed 7 inches from the waist, revealing the thighs of soft light. Coupled with the white high heels, it was even more tempting. The deep ravine in front of the chest and the bulging buttocks under the short skirt are all fascinating. Yo. Z. The service attitude of this auction house is very good. Hu Jiu nodded with satisfaction, his eyes flickering with the waiter in front. Although this waiter is not as good as a kitten in terms of stature, his every move reveals temptation, no matter his clothes or actions in this regard. Neither Zhu Zuking nor Xiao Wu can compare. Just when Hu Jiu was in good condition, his lower back suddenly hurt, and Xiao Wu's teeth-grinding voice came from her ear. "What are you looking at? Don't look at it." "Oh, good." Hu Jiu looked away reluctantly, but what she thought was, if the waiter's clothes were taken off and put on Xiao Wu and Kitten, what kind of tempting scene would it be? Thinking of this, Hu Jiu suddenly thought that Xiao Wu was not very safe. Ning Rangrang's father was coming. He would definitely be with Bone Douluo or Sword Douluo by his side. For safety reasons, he should go to Xiao Wu's room and sleep next to him, keep him safe. Chapter 206 Catwoman. Xiao Wu was very worried about Hu Jiu. During the rest of the journey, she used her long legs to block his sight, preventing him from seeing the hot waiter. In the center of the auction hall is a circular ceremony table, below which is a ring of radioactive seats, which are divided into 5 regional levels of red, black, purple, yellow, and white. The red area is the least, and only the high-end guests of the auction can sit, no matter how rich they are. They must be powerful. The black ones belong to the million-level VIP area, and only one with millions of assets can sit. Purple is the 500,000 level purple VIP area, and yellow is the 100,000 level ordinary VIP area. As for the white area, the assets are tens of thousands. Hu Jiu and others were brought to this area. After the waiter took them to the white area, let them choose their own seats, then turned and left, not even giving a smile. HMPH, the dog's eyes are low on people. Wearing such coquettish clothes is obviously to seduce rich people. "What are you doing when you don't grow up so big?" It was Xiao Wu who was talking, she said, and looked down at the buds on her chest. Her dissatisfaction was hanging on her face. "The waiters here are like this, not against you." A gentle voice came from the side. Hu Jiu turned to look. They saw an elegant middle-aged man in white clothes smiling and nodding to them. Strangely, he was not wearing a mask, and no service staff came to question him. Hey, could this person be Ningfeng's he? In Hu Jiu's perception, the spirit power aura on this middle-aged man was very similar to that of Ning Rangrang. After sensing the level, he was more certain. 79th level spirit power aura similar to that of Ning Rangrang. She looks like she is in her 40s, and her appearance is elegant and easygoing. Xiao Wu couldn't help but ask, "It's all like this? Why, Ning Feng's?" he explained with a smile. "These waiters themselves belong to the auction house, including their lives. They are all civilian women who were bought by the auction house when they were very young, and have been trained since childhood. They are not only the service staff here, but also the part of the auction. They can be bought and sold if someone is willing to pay." "Thank you for clarifying the confusion." Hu Jiu nodded to him to express his gratitude. Ning Feng's his expression froze, surprised at Hu Jiu's unreasonable play. "Looking at your appearance, it should be your first time here. Aren't you surprised that they can buy and sell?" Ning Feng's he looked at Hu Jiu curiously, and was even more interested in this young boy. Of course, it takes strength to arouse his interest. If he hadn't sensed the sulking aura on Hu Jiu and Xiao Wu, he might not have even looked at them. "What's so surprising? This world is not as beautiful as it looks, especially those with bright appearance. Maybe the more dirty they are in private." Hu Jiu's expression was flat. "In this world, no one is equal. This kind of thing happened, and he saw through it in the previous life. Well said. I didn't expect my brother to see so thoroughly at such a young age. It's not easy." Ning Fengzi exclaimed in admiration. "Haha." Hu Jiu smiled without saying a word. Ning Feng's attitude was a bit abnormal. Too abnormal. There are so many people in the whole auction house, and if they don't look for others, they come to him, and their attitude is so enthusiastic. If they don't have any other thoughts, Hu Jiu won't believe it. Well, the best way to deal with an old fox like Ning Fengzi is to ignore him. Whatever you want to do, we can just ignore it. Turning around. Here, I happened to see that the auction had already started on the auction table. The first auction item was a blast, a square box covered with a red cloth. After the auctioneer opened it, an iron cage appeared in front of everyone. Inside the cage, a girl with a red body is curled up in the cage. The key parts of her upper body are covered with shells. She can't see her appearance, but her body is almost perfect. The fair skin is like crystal jade, and the short light green hair has a unique style. Immediately afterwards, the auctioneer began to explain the special features of this girl. To put it simply, the cat martial soul mutated, and the characteristics of a cat appeared on her body, turning her into a real cat woman. Cat ears, blue eyes, cat ears, Zuking. She looks just like you transformed. Hu Jiu exclaimed. Zhu Zuking's cold eyes looked at the catwoman on the auction stage, and there was a trace of unbearableness in his eyes. Opening his mouth, Zhu Zuking wanted to speak, but in the end, for some unknown reason, he turned his head slightly and did not speak. These bastards. They even sold people as pets. Xiaowu couldn't help but jump up. Hu Jiu hurriedly pressed her hand and shook her head at her. Xiaowu doesn't understand the rules, but he understands that being able to open an auction in the imperial city of Shandao City is an unimaginably powerful point, unless he is a titled Douluo, otherwise causing trouble in this place, is courting death. At this moment, Hu Jiu suddenly realized that Ning Fengzi, who was next to him, just clicked the bid button. This means that he has also bid. Seeing Hu Jiu's gaze, Ning Fengzi showed a warm smile. It's useless to save your soul without it. There is still a soul, and it's caused by the mutation of your martial soul. How can you not save it when you encounter it? Well, saving innocent girls, my brother is really brilliant. Hu Jiu grinned and gave a thumbs up in praise. After receiving it, it kept moving and quickly pressed the bid button. Ning Fengzi, 180,000. Good. The white VIP bid is 180,000. Also, 190,000. Another white VIP has bid 190,000. Is there any higher bid? The host shouted excitedly. Jiu. Xiaowu opened her mouth in shock, her face full of disbelief. Zhu Zuking and Meng still cast surprised glances. What are you thinking? Is this the image of me in your mind? Hu Jiu felt very aggrieved, snapped, I'm here to see who dares to snatch me. An old man sitting in the red area at the front stood up abruptly and swept towards the white area behind. Although he had a mask on his face, when the man stood up, Hu Jiu recognized his identity at a glance. This person is Prince Zhu Crossing. Unexpectedly, when Prince Zhu Crossing's eyes swept over, Ning Fengzi stood up and nodded to him with a gentle face. Seeing Ning Fengzi, Prince Zhu Crossing was startled. Then his arrogance disappeared, and his expression became a little embarrassed. The auction house has the rules of the auction house. Can we continue? Ning Fengzi's voice was still gentle, with a refined and easygoing look. Yes, of course. The host agreed repeatedly with a flattering look on his face, and Ning Fengzi was not wearing a mask, so the host recognized him at a glance. The second time for 190,000 gold soul coins. The third time for 190,000 gold soul coins. The deal. This catwoman belongs to a magical VIP in the white VIP area. After Ning Fengzi stood up, there was no more people increased the price, and this auction was a success. Dare to rob the famous 7 treasure glazed tile sect master. It's almost boring to live, and those who come to participate in the auction are not idiots, let alone Ning Fengzi. Just because he can hold down Zhu Crossing, who is in the red auction area, there will be no one dare to rob him. Chapter 207. Ning Fengzhin-039 S help. Thank you bro for your help. Ning Fengzi blocked Prince Zhu Crossing for Hu Jiu, so he should say thank you. He clearly knew that he helped him to win his favor, but Hu Jiu would not be angry, but his favor with him greatly increased. The sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect really lived up to his reputation. His affinity was simply too strong. No. Even the look of contempt in Xiaowu's eyes disappeared. You're welcome. Besides, I didn't help much. Ning Fengzi said with a smile, his face still elegant and easygoing. Oh, then let's go first to avoid trouble. Hu Jiu nodded politely. The money was spent, and there was no need to participate in the next auction. Of course, it was undeniable that he wanted to see what he had just bought. Catwoman coming down. Okay, let's go and see how that Catwoman is doing. Xiao Wu stood up immediately. She didn't want to stay in this ugly auction for a moment point, and like Hu Jiu, she couldn't wait to meet the Catwoman they rescued point. That's right. In Xiao Wu's mind, Hu Jiu was saving her by buying Catwoman point. After all, her family's Xiao Jiu's mind is not as dirty as other people's. Oh, can I know your names? Just be friends. Ning Fengzi was stunned, and he left as soon as he could. I wanted to find out more about you. Among Hu Jiu's 4, there are 2 soul kings, 2 soul sects, and one can tell from their voice that they are very young. These are all incredible geniuses. He is also ready to win over. If there is a chance, I believe we will meet again soon. Hu Jiu's mouth curled into a smile, looking forward to seeing them again tomorrow. What the reaction will be point. After finishing speaking, Hu Jiu took the lead. Xiao Wu, Zhu's Yuking, and Meng still followed behind, and simply left point. Ning Fengzi didn't stop her. She smiled and said, "You're right, we will meet again, if we have fate. It's nice to meet you, Hu." Jiu smiled back, "So do we, haha, interesting." Ning Fengzi laughed dumbly as he watched them leave. He hadn't met such an interesting boy for a long time. Go. Check their backgrounds. I want their information. Ning Fengzi leaned back on the chair and instructed faintly behind him. Yes. Sect Master. A respectful voice came from behind. Hu Jiu and the others left the auction center, and as soon as they went out, a silver skirt waiter immediately greeted them. VIP, please come with me. After the girl in the silver skirt respectfully saluted them, she made a gesture of please point. Hu Jiu nodded, signaling to lead the way point. Under the leadership of the girl in the silver skirt, Hu Jiu came to a room next to the auction center. The room is very empty, but it is very elegantly furnished, with a comfortable white leather sofa and 4 kinds of delicate fruits on the round coffee table point. The girl in the silver skirt said, "VIP, please rest for a while. The auction items will be delivered immediately." As soon as she entered the room, Xiao Wu's eyes aimed at the fruit on the coffee table. She cheered and ran over, picked up a fruit and nibbled it. "It's sweet. It tastes good." Xiao Jiu, "Do you want to eat it?" Hu Jiu shook his head amusingly. "Didn't we just finish our meal just now?" Xiao Wu happily nibbled at the fruit point. After waiting for a while, the door of the room was opened, and several big men pushed a cage and sent them in. "Check it out." Hu Jiu also simply confirmed that the cage was the Catwoman he had photographed, then handed out a black card and said to the girl in the silver skirt standing respectfully in front of him, "Yes." The girl in the silver skirt took the black card and went back respectfully. Hu Jiu stood up, came to the cage, and said to a big man beside him, "Open the cage." The big man hesitated for a moment, then took out the key and opened the iron cage. "Don't be afraid, you can come out now." Hu Jiu gently said to the Catwoman in the cage. Catwoman had already put on her clothes at this time, and put on a seductive maid skirt that alternated black and white, and looked at him timidly. When she saw Hu Jiu's face and gentle expression, she seemed relieved, and cautiously got out of the cage, while not forgetting to observe Hu Jiu's expression secretly. "Is this the master who bought me? It doesn't look like a bad person, and he is so handsome. Will he put me at night?" Catwoman's blue eyes were a little erratic, but in her mind she was recalling the knowledge that the auction house taught her. Thinking about how Hu Jiu would do something shameful to her, she was very fortunate that the people who bought her were not those ugly old men with full stomachs. If it is such a handsome and gentle master, she thinks she can. When Catwoman stole a glance at Hu Jiu was also looking at her. 12 or 13 years old. He looked a little younger than them, but he developed very well. Not as good as Zhu's Yuking, and similar to the current Xiao Wu. Possibly, cats have an advantage in terms of development. Short light green hair, azure blue eyes, and a pair of little kittens exposed between the hair strands. Confused and timid eyes, a cherry mouth, and a round face that is blushing in white. Together, just perfect. There is only a slight gap between Xiao Wu and Zhu's Yuking. Yingying's waist, her petite body, her graceful figure, her legs that are as white as jade under her short skirt, and her soft body curves, all of which make the mouth water. Xiao Jiu. Hu Jiu woke up with an angry shout. "Ah! Meeting Xiao Wu's furious eyes, Hu Jiu smiled awkwardly, secretly thinking that it was bad, as if she had accidentally exposed her true nature. This damn youthful sprouting period. Fortunately, the girl in the silver skirt, who went to go through the formalities at this time, came back. VIP, this is your black card and Catwoman's proof of ownership. She will be your private property in the future, but please also note that, if you let her escape, the auction house will not be responsible for retrieving it. Silver skirt. The girl's respectful black card on the ground also has Catwoman's certificate of ownership. Okay, I understand. Hu Jiu nodded, indicating that he understood. Taking the newly bought Catwoman, Hu Jiu and his party returned to Shrek Academy. Along the way, Xiao Wu's anger still remained, and she didn't even show Hu Jiu's face. Brother. Jiu, what are you going to do with her? Zhu Zuking looked up at Hu Jiu, and beside her, Xiao Wu's ears pricked up, obviously very concerned about this matter. It's simple, since I've bought everything, she will be my maid from now on, just to enjoy a noble life. He bought Catwoman with money, and Hu Jiu was not a virgin. He spent a lot of money and then set her free. He was not so kind. With Catwoman as she is now, even if she is set free, her end will not be much better, and he also wanted to try to see if he could train Catwoman. He has carrots for the evolution of his martial arts, and it is not difficult to solve the problem of Catwoman's martial arts mutation. Maybe, after solving her martial spirit problem, there will be unexpected gains. Of course, the reason why she is so kind, it is undeniable that the beauty of Catwoman accounts for a great factor. Man, lecherous, quite normal. Okay. Chapter 208. I beat my son, my father is here. Maid, hearing Hu Jiu say this, Zhu Zuking nodded and said nothing. In her mind, it was very good for Catwoman to have such an arrangement. She was born in a big family, and she knows this very well. That is, in the hands of Hu Jiu. If she meets other people, Catwoman may have become a plaything. Xiao Wu's raised ears also returned to normal, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth, but then she thought that she was still angry. So she hurriedly pretended to be still angry, and even snorted coldly. When Catwoman heard that she was just a maid, a happy smile appeared on her timid face, but for some reason, she felt a little disappointed in her heart. By the way, do you have a name? How should I call you? Hu Jiu looked up at his Catwoman and asked, Master, I don't have a name, they all call me Catwoman. Catwoman said pitifully, since you don't have a name, then I'll get you one. Hu Jiu touched her chin, pondered for a moment, and said, you can call me Humir in the future. Also, don't call me Master, I'll call you Master in the future. Being called Master by a charming cat maid, Hu Jiu can't stand it, it's too exciting. Afraid to get excited, it's better to be a wicked aristocrat. After all, it was bought with money. Thank you, sir. Catwoman. Oh, Humir nodded obediently, with a grateful expression on her face. But Hu Jiu didn't pay much attention to it. This Catwoman must have received a lot of professional training in the auction house. Every move is full of charm, and her expression is not so sincere. It is estimated that she is trying to please him. However, for Hu Jiu, who has the 5 sense enhancement technique, these little tricks are useless to him. If he is not honest, then there is no cultivation value. It remains to be seen how it performs in the future. He didn't want to cultivate a white-eyed wolf. Shrek Academy, in front of the gate. Dad, go back. This is a matter between our students. Don't you embarrass me even more by coming here? Tyrone said as he injured the pain, and took a breath. His face was swollen like a pig's head, and there was obviously a problem with his body movement. You can only stand with the help of another student. In front of him, a middle-aged man who was one size bigger than him stared angrily at the passing students. This man's appearance is 8 points similar to Tai Long, but he looks older, and the clothes outside can't hide his swollen muscles. A sturdy look on his face. Fart. My son has been beaten into a pig's head. If I can bear it, I don't deserve to be called Taino, the powerful king. You bastard, you will only embarrass me and beat even a teenage boy. But I want to see who is so powerful that even my son of Taino dares to beat him. Tyrone. looked helpless at this time, and he regretted why he had to go home to rest. Dad, you will make it difficult for me to do this. How can I continue to practice in the academy in the future? Taelong continued to persuade his father with a wry smile. Fuck. They have graduated from the 30th grade. You shattered academies have to get some advanced class. Just do it. No one cares if you are beaten like this. Wait for me to catch that kid. I'm going to go to the teachers of your college to judge. Dad, I provoked the matter. My skills are not as good as others. It has nothing to do with the person who hit me. Taelong explained with a wry smile. Fighting among classmates is quite normal, especially for him. When Shrek was still Blue Bay Academy, many classmates were taught a lesson by him, and they didn't find their parents. Now, how will this make him meet people in the future? You have the guts to say it. Picking things up and making people beat up like this. You really embarrass your father. Hey, Taelong, why are you here? Haven't you been beaten enough? Back at Shrek Academy, Xiao Wu saw Taelong and his son blocking the gate at a glance. Hearing this, Taelong's father Taenuo immediately looked over. His eyes swept over Xiao Wu, Hu Jiu, Zhu Zuking, Meng Yan, and Humir. Who are you, Ma Hongjin? Taenuo asked with a cold face. Although he asked, his eyes were fixed on Hu Jiu, because Hu Jiu was the only man in the scene. Hu Jiu touched his nose. Although he was not Ma Hongjin, he gave the order to beat someone. So, Hu Jiu nodded as a matter of course. I'm Ma Hongjin, what do you think? Not to mention, Hu Jiu's tone was a lot arrogant when he used someone else's name for the first time. This kind of imposter feels very fun. Okay, it turns out that you little bastard beat my son like this. Taenuo waited here for an afternoon and finally found his target. He was so angry that he stretched out his big hand and grabbed it directly on Hu Jiu's shoulder. Come over. Haha, it's good to come. Hu Jiu shouted loudly, not retreating but advancing, clenching his fists to meet him. After so long in the ice and fire eyes, it's time to test the results. Dad, stop hitting. You hit the wrong person. Taelong shouted with an anxious expression on his face. It's a pity that Taenuo and Hu Jiu were fighting fiercely at this time, so how could he pay attention to his persuasion? Bang bang bang. Taenuo and Hu Jiu put their fists and feet together, and they did not give in to each other, and they were evenly matched. After a few hard regrets, Taenuo and Hu Jiu each took a few steps back. How is it possible? How can your strength be so strong? Taenuo looked at Hu Jiu in shock. He was the 58th level Storm King, and Wuhan was a powerful gorilla. However, in the competition just now, he didn't take advantage of it. What the hell, are the students now so strong? Xiao Wu gave Taelong a disdainful look. If you beat the young, the old will come out. If we beat your dad too, shouldn't your grandfather come out too? Long was stunned for a moment, and his eyes suddenly showed a look of shame. Xiao Wu, don't get me wrong, it was my dad who saw the injury on my body, that's why. But if my grandfather really came, it would be troublesome already. Taenuo is not stupid, just seeing her son's attitude towards this girl, can tell who she is, so he gave Xiao Wu a sideways look. Little girl, there is something about you here too. If you hadn't seduced my son, he would have been beaten so badly. Sure enough, it was a disaster. I'll learn to seduce men at such a young age. Xiao Wu was stunned for a moment, then turned furious. Gorilla, who do you think seduces men? Taenuo snorted. Didn't you cause this little bastard to hit my son? I'll teach you a lesson when I clean up this boy. What's wrong with my son? Can't it compare to this little white face? It's okay to do evil in the sky, and it's impossible to live by doing it yourself. Hu Jiu's face darkened, his aura increased, and 5 spirit rings appeared at his feet. I won't type your shit out today, I'll write my name upside down. To insult Xiao Wu, Hu Jiu was already furious. Even if his grandfather came today, this fight would be indispensable, he said. 2 yellows, 2 purples, and 1 black. No wonder they are so arrogant. So they are the sulking. Taenuo's expression was flat, as if he was not surprised, but he was shocked to death. This is the sulking, the same realm as him, and it took him half his life to cultivate to the sulking, and he is still in this realm to this day. How old is this Ma Hongjin? I'm afraid I haven't even reached the age of 15. Tylen is about to urinate. Chapter 209 Fighting Tano. Humph. What if it's the Soul King? Could it be that my soul power is as high as mine? Thinking of this, Tano suddenly regained his confidence. Listen, my name is Taenuo, the 58th level power type battle spirit king, the martial spirit gorilla. Boy, you have figured it out. You have no eyes on your fists and feet. If I break your legs, I will be sorry. Hu Jiu. Wuhan Hushan, the 56th level food type soul king. Hu Jiu replied with a blank face. Also, don't be old man. I have a lot of grades, and my grade is almost inferior to mine. Why are you so embarrassed to come out and meet people? Okay, you're fine. A food type soul king is still so arrogant. After Hu Jiu's run on it, Tano didn't care why his name was not Mahangjin. The moment he raised his fist, he shouted and faced him. Call, King Kong is not bad. Looking at Taenuo's swollen body, Hu Jiu was not to be outdone, and when King Kong was not bad, the whole person swelled up, holding a fist the size of a casserole to meet him. Point boom, boom, boom. Hu Jiu and Taenuo were like savage men. Fists and feet collided violently, bursts of explosions sounded, and they refused to give in to each other. Taenuo's martial spirit is indeed very powerful. After possessing the body, it can be said that in terms of strength, Taenuo is the most powerful of the same level, because his martial spirit follows the pure power system, and all spirit rings increase power. This kind of extreme spirit ring blessing method is a way of breaking all laws with one force. From the very beginning, Hu Jiu felt the pressure. However, Hu Jiu is not weak either. The suffering of the ice and fire eyes is not in vain. Under the forging of the two element of ice and fire, whether it is strength, defense, or speed, physical fitness has been improved in all directions. With the addition of King Kong's indestructible body, the strength and defense have been greatly strengthened, and compared with Tano, it is only slightly weaker. Haha, Kit, admit defeat. The food department can't beat the storm department. Give you a chance, give me a gift, admit your mistake, and I'll let you go. Taenuo said arrogantly. HMPH, that's not necessarily. Hu Jiu's expression remained unchanged. The fifth spirit ring lit up, and the violent Hu Jinseng turned on. I saw an invisible aura emerge from his body in an instant. That aura was full of violent power, and even his body swelled in a circle again. Come again. Hu Jiu shouted loudly. This time, he actually took the initiative to fight back. The power filled his whole body, making Hu Jiu's interest violent. At this time, he just wanted to have a good fight. Drink, come as soon as you come. Taenuo, not to be outdone, raised his fist to meet him. Boom. What? A powerful force. This is an explosion of soul power. At the moment, when the fists exchanged, Tano felt a huge force coming, and he stepped back 3 steps in a row. Soul skill. I also have it. Look, the source of the power of the third soul skill. The third soul ring on Taenuo's body lit up, and the huge body that had been possessed by the martial soul swelled again, especially the arms. Thicker than thighs. Ha, take the move. Taenuo swung his fist in a semicircle, as if he was hammering iron, and actually hammered his arm as a hammer. Hey. There is actually a shadow of the chaos cloak hammering technique, but I haven't practiced it yet. If that's the case, then I'll show you what the real chaos cloak is. Hu Jiu was stunned, and a look of interest flashed in his eyes instantly. Compared with the hammer method, he was really not afraid. Immediately, Hu Jiu swiped his wrist, and a meteor hammer that had not been opened for a long time appeared in his hand. His body instantly bowed, and he started to move in a random cloak hammer method, and after a half circle, he greeted him. Boom, with a loud bang, Hu Jiu's 1,280-pound meteor hammer, driven by the chaotic cloak, suddenly knocked the unbelievable Tano out. Impossible. This is a random cloak hammering method. How can you mess with the cloak hammering method? Taenuo would have given up fighting with Hu Jiu. Hu Jiu's random cloak hammering method was too familiar to him. Familiar. This kind of attack is simply ingrained in the back of his mind, and he can't forget it. What? Messy cloak, you're stupid. Look at the trick. Tano was distracted, but Hu Jiu couldn't. The moment he slammed the hammer, a huge spiral pill was already condensed in his hand. The emerald colored spiral pill is spinning rapidly. If it is prohibited, some fiery red and ice blue colors can be seen mixed together, but during the rapid rotation, these two colors are all covered by green. This is the second upgraded spirit ability developed by Hu Jiu. Poison escape spiral pill. The spiral pill spun rapidly and slammed towards Tano with enormous pressure. Taenuo saw that things were not good, and he didn't care about whether Hu Jiu was wearing a random cloak just now. He was half kneeling, and the fourth spirit ring instantly lit up. Shock of power. At the moment when the soul skill was used, Taenuo seemed to have an invisible force spreading, and the space around 30 meters began to vibrate, and even the ground cracked. Flying sand and rocks. The violent power can be felt from afar beside them. Xiao Wu, Zhu's Yuking, and Meng Yiren's expressions changed as they pulled Catwoman Humeya out of Tano's attack range. Xiao. Jiu. Come here, use that trick. Xiao Wu hurriedly shouted. No. Hu Jiu raised his hand to stop it. Where is this? His means have only been used a little bit. Boom. At this moment, Taenuo punched Hu Jiu's poisonous escape spiral pill. Haha, your method is still a little tender. What skills do you have? Let's use it together. Taenuo said arrogantly. Dad, be careful. The green ball of light was poisonous just now. At this moment, Tyrone's anxious voice came over. Taenuo was stunned for a moment, looked down and saw that the arm that blasted the spiral pill just now turned green. A numbness came, and the arm instantly lost consciousness. Use poison. The speed at which the toxin of the 8 spider lances spreads was so fast that Taenuo had just noticed that something was wrong, and the feeling of cold and heat spread all over his body. This feeling has become more obvious. Hu Jiu came to Taenuo and sneered. Poison is my soul skill. Do I have to tell you before I use it? How can the 2 eyes of ice and fire be in vain? As early as when he had the ability to enter the 2 eyes of ice and fire, his 8 spider lances once began to evolve. The spider lances absorbed the power of ice and fire and produced their own spider venom. The wonderful chemical reaction, let alone the Soul King. Even the Soul Emperor can't stand his poison point, especially when he got the dragon pill and had the ice and fire domain. The power of the poison escape spiral pill was even greater. You called out a word. Tano found his tongue was also a little disobedient, even though he forcibly gathered his soul power to resist the spread of toxins in the body. But in anger, the spirit power is activated, but the speed of the bloodline is accelerated. Cause the poison to spread faster and make him more powerless. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210 Training Methods. 3, 2, 1, Countdown. At the end of the countdown, Tano's huge body fell to the ground. Hu Jiu, I fought with you. Taelong roared and charged towards Hu Jiu with his fists, clenched point. As the saying goes, the revenge of killing his father is never shared. He watched helplessly as his father was poisoned and fell to the ground. He didn't know his life or death point snapped. Hu Jiu wouldn't be polite to him, raised his hand, slapped him to the ground with a slap, and fainted. The academy watching the lively next to see this scene. All eyes are complicated, so ruthless. After the trouble was resolved, Hu Jiu came to Taenuo, whose face had turned green, and slapped him on the forehead first, and then moved the 8 spider lances to suck out the toxins from his body. Although Taenuo didn't keep his mouth shut, he wouldn't kill people for this trivial matter, but the death penalty could be avoided, so it was okay to stun the father and son and let them calm down. After all this was settled, the teachers of the college came in a hurry. The first person to arrive was his teacher Xiao Waoqi. When he just got the news, Xiao Waoqi was so anxious that his disciple was blocked at the gate of the academy. This is amazing. This is not taking him Xiao Waoqi in his eyes, but when he arrived in a hurry, the matter was over. Only to see 2 people lying thorns at the gate of the academy, while Hu Jiu's Heng and Xiao Wu were talking and laughing. The point is, there is another Catwoman he has never seen before. This scene made Xiao Wuji feel that he was completely worried for nothing. Xiao Jiu, what's going on? Xiao Wuji took a breath and asked, "Oh, it's nothing. I beat the young, and the old is here." Hu Jiu disdainfully glanced at the two fainted people who no one dared to move, and said indifferently, "HMPH, you actually dare to make trouble in the academy. It seems that I should tell the old ghost Fu later, and let him take care of the discipline of the academy." Xiao Waoqi said angrily. Hu Jiu nodded. "Well, it's time to take care of it. By the way, what's the matter with you?" Xiao Wuji pointed at Catwoman and asked, "Mr. Xiao Jiu is amazing. Just now, she went to the auction to save the beauty, and brought everyone to the academy." Xiao Wu pouted and said strangely, "What's the matter? You made Xiao Wu angry?" Xiao Wuji turned to look at Hu Jiu, and asked with his eyes. Hu Jiu spread his hands helplessly. "I didn't know who was outraged just now, but now that people are rescued, they start to dislike it again. Well, Catwoman is useless to me anyway, or I can just let her go self-inflicted." "No, sir, please accept me. I will do a lot of things." Hearing Hu Jiu's words, Catwoman's face turned pale instantly, tears rolled in her eyes, and her body even knelt down in front of Hu Jiu, trembling and terrified. She had always known the fate of being abandoned. If Hu Jiu didn't want her, she might be sent to the auction house tomorrow, or even a more miserable place. "Oh, it's no use begging me. You see, I can't even be the master." Hu Jiu sighed, helpless of course. This kind of helplessness is all fake. After all, isn't Xiao Wu still jealous? If you insist on keeping Catwoman, it's not impossible, but Xiao Wu may be in a bad mood. "Madam, please accept me. I can do laundry for criminals and do housework. I eat very little." Catwoman immediately turned her head and cried beside Xiao Wu, "Get up. I didn't say I didn't want you." Seeing Catwoman like this, Xiao Wu instantly disregarded her jealousy and only felt distressed in her heart. He hurriedly pulled Catwoman to stand up and gave Hu Jiu a fierce look. "You are the real person. What are you doing to bully other people's mayor? Be careful, I'll take care of you." Hu Jiu. This attitude has become so fast. 1 second is jealous, and the next second, Maya screams, "Woman, TSK, okay, it's all my fault." Hu Jiu said helplessly, "HMPH, it's your fault." Xiao Wu raised her chin proudly. The little fairy can't go wrong. Back in the dormitory, Hu Jiu took Maya to the dean's office. With Flender's consent, Maya was placed in a dormitory not far from the Shrek 9 monsters. In the afternoon, Hu Jiu called Tang San together and let him meet Catwoman, and then the two discussed it. Maya's innate soul power level is level 6. Her talent is actually not low, at least much higher than the previous Hu Jiu point. Although she didn't practice much, she had already broken through the 10th rank. But she just hadn't hunted for a spirit ring. Hu Jiu and Tang San started a discussion about Maya's mutant spirit. "Little San, do you think this Catwoman is worthy of cultivation?" Tang San frowned and thought for a while. "Mutant martial spirits like Maya are rare. I think her situation is similar to my teacher. It's all because of the failure of the benign mutation of martial spirits to cause such consequences. Take my teacher as an example. His martial spirit should be a blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex, but his martial spirit has mutated, and the direction of the mutation is the golden holy dragon. Maya's situation is similar to this. She is also a mutant of martial arts, and she is benign, but the background is not enough, and her martial arts failed to advance, so she became a malignant mutation." "Oh, according to what you said, those vicious spirits that mutated all failed to mutate, right?" Hu Jiu asked. "Yes, after a lot of research by the teacher, the basic situation is like this." Tang San nodded silently. "Okay, let's go back to the topic. You have also discovered Maya's situation. She has the characteristics of a cat on her body, which is equivalent to a permanent state of martial spirit possession. How do you think it should develop?" Hu Jiu asked. Don't you already have a plan?" Tang San smiled and glanced at Hu Jiu. "Just as you thought, her spirit is permanently possessed, but she has no ability to release it, and because the mutation is not complete, and it turns into a phenomenon of insufficient attack power, and the most important thing is that there is no spirit ring. The solution is also very simple. One is the spirit ring. With the spirit ring, she can continue to practice. This is the first point. The second is to use your evolutionary ginseng to cultivate and deepen the foundation. The soul will become a complete body. But there is a risk. One is that it will take a long time to cultivate, and the other is that I don't know if she can get rid of the spirit possession state after she becomes a complete body. Hearing Tang San's explanation, Hu Jiu nodded. This plan was similar to what he thought, but Hu Jiu thought it a bit simpler. He didn't have so many considerations. Sample, it seems to be a little risky, Hu Jiu said, rubbing his chin. Chapter 211 The Titan arrives. As for the spirit ring thing, I can arrange one for Catwoman first, and let her practice first. Anyway, her first spirit ring is only 100 years old at most, and it can be done by just going out. As for the evolution of ginseng, let's forget it first, and we have to observe the heart of Catwoman. Hu Jiu found out that Catwoman may have received professional training in the auction house and learned some messy skills. So she needs to calm down first. After talking with Tang San, the two of them went back to their houses after dinner. Taking advantage of the darkness, Hu Jiu teleported to Xiao Wu's room quietly. Xiao. Jiu, why are you here again? Xiao Wu expressed a little shyness. You are not very safe these 2 days. I have to protect myself. Hu Jiu said seriously. Yeah, you already know how to lie to me. Xiao Wu won't be fooled. This is the first time that she has made such excuses every time, because she just wants to. Really, didn't Ran go back today? Depending on what she meant, her father will come over tomorrow to discuss a business with Xiaozhen. As far as I know, her father is Ning Fengxi, the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile school, and Ning Fengxi is by his side. There are 2 famous titled Douluos, one bone Douluo, and one sword Douluo. They are all titled Douluo above level 95. If you let them touch you, they will definitely see your real body, so you need to be careful these days. It's best to find an excuse to hide in your godmother Liu Erlang's courtyard before they leave. Hu Jiu wasn't joking about this. Although he needed to find out Xiao Wu's true body in person, and even a title Douluo of level 95 or above was required to find out, it was still too unsafe for Xiao Wu. 2 titled Douluos. Then, I'll listen to you. Xiao Wu shuddered. Fear flashed across her face. Fortunately, Xiao Jiu was well informed, otherwise she would be in danger. Yeah, but you can't relax tonight. I have the ability to perceive. With me protecting you, you'll be fine. Hu Jiu hugged Xiao Wu's soft body and comforted. Yeah. A blush flashed across Xiao Wu's face, but she didn't resist Hu Jiu's actions. Early the next morning, Xiao Wu went to Liu Erlang's other courtyard. After getting up, the Catwoman Humelia came to the door consciously and diligently hurried up and down, helping him clean up the house, serving tea and water. Very well behaved. The other Shrek 9 monsters were curious when they found out that Hu Jiu brought back a Catwoman. 9th. Brother, where did you find such a stunner? Don't you already have Xiao Wu and a Catwoman? Can you afford it? Mahanjan said with a wink, the envy in his eyes even more undisguised. Go, I have more firepower than you. Give me some seriousness. Hu Jiu looked at Fatty angrily. This guy's head is full of serious thoughts. Haha, after all, it's still a pleasure that Brother 9 understands. Don't think about it, Fatty, you don't have any money. Dame Ube laughed. What's wrong with me having no money? You can't be any better. If you have the ability, you can also bring a Catwoman back. Fatty said disdainfully. Okay, don't be arguing. You've heard what happened yesterday. The Tyrone we cleaned up. His dad came to the door yesterday. Hu Jiu waved his hand and interrupted their speech. I heard that Brother 9th is still very powerful. I heard that you have killed Taelong's father. Oscar said excitedly. When he heard the news last night, he was so excited. You must know that Hu Jiu, like him, is a food type soul master. As a food type soul master, it is very inspiring to kill a storm type soul master of the same realm. It's just a little sulking. We are monsters. If we can't be invincible at the same level, what kind of monsters would we be? Hu Jiu's tone was flat, and he pretended to beep. 9th. Brother is domineering. Fatty flattered. I Mean. We need to act together today. I got news that Tai Long also has a grandfather Titan. That guy is a contra, very strong, and very protective of his shortcomings. It is very likely that he will shamelessly look for him. Come to the door, so we need to hold a group. If Tai Long's grandfather really comes, we can let go and fight a fight. When the time comes, we will see where the limits of our Shrek 9 monsters are. Hu Jiu's face was full of fighting intent, and there would definitely be no problem with safety. After all, they were not fighting alone, and neither Shrek Academy nor anyone could bully them. Point with Flender, Liu Erlong, and Zhao Walqi, a bunch of soul saints. Even Soul Douluo could only hold grudges on the spot. Point with them there, safety is guaranteed, and even Soul Douluo would not dare to do anything to them. Point therefore, Hu Jiu positioned Titan as a challenge target. Battle. Spirit Douluo, it seems to be very interesting. A light flashed in Daemon Bei's evil eyes. How could such an extreme challenge be without him? Haha, fight. Fight happily. Soul Douluo is a piece of shit. With our Shrek 9 monsters here, are you afraid that he won't succeed? Mahangjin was also excited. His martial spirit is a phoenix, and his temperament is very explosive. But Hu Jiu, Daemon Bei, Xiao Wu, Tang San and the others are too talented, so his temperament is not revealed. It's a pity that Xiao Wu can't come today. If she's here, and the 9th brother performs martial arts fusion, our odds of winning will be better. Oscar said regretfully. Hu Jiu had already told them about Xiao Wu, and they also knew that Xiao Wu was not feeling well today, so she might not be able to participate in the battle. And Rong isn't here either. Zhu King said silently. It's okay, it's useless to say this now, we are all just guessing. As for whether Tai Long's grandfather will come to the door, we don't know. Hu Jiu smiled and waved his hand. Okay, don't talk about this. Let's go. It's time for us to go to class. Haha, I look forward to the challenge of Soul Douluo. After the group ate breakfast, Hu Jiu arranged for Catwoman to stay in the academy and went to class with the Shrek 9 monsters. Hu Jiu, where are you? A group of people just stepped into the classroom when anxious shouts came from outside the door. Looking for me? There were several students wearing Shrek Academy uniforms outside the door. Seeing him, Hu Jiu turned around. Seeing Hu Jiu, the student who ran at the front shouted, Hu Jiu, hurry up, come and have a look. Tai Long and the others are here again. Hey, it's really here. The corner of Hu Jiu's mouth twitched, looking back at the Shrek 9 monsters. Then he found a pair of eyes full of fighting intent. Haha, okay, let's go meet them. Hu Jiu waved his hand first, followed by the rest of Shrek's 9 monsters. By the way, please go and inform Dean Flender. Thank you. Hu Jiu suddenly turned around and said to the person who came to report, well, good. The student nodded and immediately turned to go to the dean's office. Chapter 212 8 Monsters Fighting the Titans. Outside the gate of Shrek Academy, Tai Long and Tianyuo were standing beside an old man. The old man had grey hair. A short hair is standing on the top of the head like a steel needle. The figure looks similar to Tenno, the powerful king, but his eyes are much deeper. Standing there, it gave people a feeling of not being angry and arrogant. From the awe in the eyes of Tai Long and Tianyuo, when they looked at him, they could know the old man's status in their family. Grandpa, I beg you, just go back. If this goes on, I really can't be in the academy. Tai Long begged his grandfather with a wry smile. Shame. It's so humiliating. It's just a fight. Even if you lose, even your father loses. If things were okay so far, I didn't expect that. When their father and son went back yesterday, they happened to bump into Grandpa's hand. Seeing the bruised noses and swollen faces of the two of them, they were so angry that their beards cocked up on the spot, only to realize that they had lost to a student after questioning. It's okay. The children and grandchildren were bullied, and of course the old man will come back. Angry and happy at the same time. What a genius. To win a duel against his son at such a young age. I heard that he is still a food type soul master. When he heard the news, Titan couldn't sit still. This kind of talent. Why don't you want to recruit your own family? Their family lacks auxiliary spirit masters the most. Okay, even if you steal or rob, you have to recruit this genius to your family. As for revenge, he is not so shallow. This is just one reason why he recruited Hu Jiu. Titan has his hands behind his back, glancing at his grandson coldly. Shut up. With just 2 words, Taelong was completely blocked back. Lao Tzu's plan. How can you, Tai Han, understand Taitan's thoughts? Not only Taelong did not understand, even his son Taenuo did not want to understand. At this time, he also thought the same as Taelong, and the feeling in his heart was very embarrassing. But in the end, he was a little older, or he was taught by the old man to understand, and knowing the old man's temper, he didn't dare to be stubborn with him at all. Early this morning, the father and son Taelong and Taenuo had not fully recovered from their previous injuries. They were going to sleep for a while, but they were picked up by the old man. Came directly to the school. The old man didn't say what he was going to do, but with his aggressive appearance, even Taenuo was silent. Taeno is very clear. My father is not a good-natured person, and his temperament is even stronger than his own. It is possible to do something impulsive. At the beginning, if it weren't for this, my family wouldn't. Thinking of this, Taenuo couldn't help sighing secretly, praying in his heart that the old man would not be too impulsive. After all, that Hu Jiu was just a teenager. The old man will never be serious with him. At this moment, Hu Jiu brought the remaining Shrek monsters to the gate of the academy. One by one with high fighting spirit. Hu Jiu had made it clear to them before he came, and he would act with all his strength and never procrastinate. When Taitan saw Hu Jiu for the first time, his expression was fiery for a moment. Hearing is false, seeing is believing. Although I have heard of Hu Jiu's level, seeing it with my own eyes is another matter. He sensed that Hu Jiuming was only level 56, but he possessed an incredible amount of soul power in his body, so he couldn't help but be shocked. Incredible genius. From the spirit power, it can be seen that the age of each of his spirit rings is definitely not low, to an extremely abnormal level. He didn't know that among Hu Jiu's 5 spirit rings, except for 1 spirit ring that was over 12,000 years old, the remaining 4 spirit rings were almost 10,000 years old. There are 3 or even 4 10,000 year spirit rings. You are Hu Jiu. Taitan looked at the leader Hu Jiu lightly, although he asked, but his tone was affirmative. Yes, I am. Hu Jiu concentrated and waited. Standing in front of him is a serious contra. Not only that, but also a soul Douluo of pure power system. Great. Yesterday you injured my son and grandson. Taitan asked lightly. Of course. Stop talking nonsense. Don't you just come here to find fault. Where is the Shrek team? Hu Jiu didn't want to continue to talk about it. Here. Damu Bei and the others stepped forward and stood side by side with Hu Jiu, looking at Taitan with a gleaming face. Whoosh whoosh. Hu Jiu quickly summoned out the wild ginseng root, handed it to the others and started greeting. Zioao, sausage, okay. At the same time, Oscar also acted, and the colorful unicorn intestines fell into the hands of others one by one. At this moment, a surprising voice came. Hee. The 7 treasure glazed glass has turned out. The first is power, the second is speed, the third is soul, and the fourth is defense. In an instant, Hu Jiu only felt that his body was illuminated by a burst of colorful light, and all aspects of his body began to improve. Rang. Everyone turned around in surprise. Shrek team, how could it be without me? Ning Rang. Rang looked at everyone with a smile. At this moment, Ning Rang's figure was really like a little fairy under the sunlight. Prepare for a long time. Are you all ready? At this moment, Taitan's impatient voice came over. He was a little anxious. How could he not know the 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda of the 7 treasure glazed tile school? With the appearance of this girl, things seemed to change. You hurt my son and grandson because they are incompetent. But it's not that I'm incompetent. I won't bully the small and fight with you. How about we make a bet? Way out. He didn't forget that he was a famous teacher, and for this reason, even the 7 treasure glazed tile school would have nothing to say. Hurting your son and grandson is also because they picked things up first. So why should I bet with you? Hu Jiu sneered. Don't talk nonsense. Time is tight. Tasks are urgent. Fight if you want. Otherwise after the time has passed, I have no chance to fight, because after a while, Flanders and others will come. Give it all to me. Hu Jiu shouted loudly, his body swelled and opened, and King Kong's body was not broken. At the same time, the rest of Shrek also acted. White tiger, possessed. Phoenix, possessed. Nether cat, possessed. Dragon staff, third soul skill. Dragon spirit possession. Meng still had his legs turned into a dragon's tail and stared at two cute dragon horns on his head. Cute and charming. Oscar and Ning Rang Grang naturally retreated. At this time, they were useless. The blessings had been completed, and the rest was to protect their own safety. Outside the Shrek gate, in the direction Ning Rang Grang appeared just now, an old man with a withered face smiled at an elegant and easygoing middle-aged man beside him. These little guys are very courageous. They even dare to challenge Soul Douluo. I don't know where the confidence comes from. Chapter 213. The Third White Tiger. Young people, it's normal to be a little impulsive, not to mention the geniuses among them. The elegant and easygoing middle-aged man, Ning Fengzi, said with a smile, but his eyes looked strangely at the leader Hu Jiu. Hey, isn't this the kid from yesterday? I remembered that I helped him, but I didn't expect that he was Hu Jiu. Now, Ning Fengzi was more interested in Hu Jiu. However, it seemed that Titan, the sly and cunning guy, seemed to be eyeing him. Certainly not good. Then, do we want to help? This guy Titan is not a fuel-efficient lamp, asked the bony-faced Bone Douluo beside him. No. Hurry. Ning Fengzi said calmly. The icing on the cake is not as good as the help in the snow. He still understands such a simple truth. Poison. Escape spiral pill. The white tiger protects the body. The white tiger transforms into a king. The white tiger meteor shower. Phoenix. In the fire. The phoenix blows in the sky. Snake. Blade array. Nether. Ghost eyes. Venomous. Spider web. At the beginning, they were all full, and they didn't dare to relax when dealing with titans of more than 80 levels. Hu Jiu pushed out a huge spiral pill in his hand. Dainu Bei used all his boosting skills, the white tiger body shield, the white tiger golden transformation blessing, all kinds of power doubled. A thick light wave emanated from his hand and blasted directly at Titan. Ma Hongjin was the same. The phoenix in the fire increased the power of the flame, and the phoenix behind him rose into the sky and fell down. There are also pieces of snake blades issued by Meng Yan'an's wave, forming a huge snake blade array. Zhu King's eyes darkened for a moment, and the ghostly eyes turned into an endless hell, interfering with Titan's actions. Tang San was the same. The blue silver grass in his hand was lusciously green, instantly wrapping Titan firmly. Haha, Wuhan gorilla. Facing numerous attacks, Titan calmly possessed his spirit, and the moment his body swelled, Tang San's blue silver grass instantly shattered, breaking into pieces, as if there were no restrictions on him. The same is true of Zhu King's ghostly eyes. Titan just shook his head and woke up. Instead, Zhu King groaned, and his body took 2 steps back, as if he had suffered a backlash. But Tang San and Zhu King didn't do anything in vain. Just as Titan cracked the attack, Hu Jiu and the others' attack had already arrived, making it too late for him to crack it. In a hurry, the titans can only resist. The huge spiral pill, the fiery phoenix line of fire, the strong white tiger light wave, the sharp snake blade, all bombarded the titan. What the? Numerous attacks made the titan scream in an instant, especially the toxin and ice fire properties in the Hu Jiu spiral pill. Although the toxin did not pose much of a threat to the titan, the strong toxin had already troubled him, and under the severe poisonous corrosion, the hair on the titan fell in pieces, and the clothes were instantly scrapped. There is also Fatty's evil fire. After taking the immortal grass, Fatty's martial spirit has become a phoenix, and the evil fire is even more powerful. As for other people's attacks, they were resisted by Titan's arm protecting his forehead. You guys, you've angered me. Taitan's eyes were fierce, and the gorilla hair on his body was burnt to black, and only scattered strips of cloth covered key parts of his body. Thinking of his dignified 86th level soul Douluo, Hu Jiu has suffered such grievances, and today is the day the king is here, and he has to let out his breath first. As for recruiting or something, let's wait until the gas is out. Oops, this old guy is angry. Looking at the 8 spirit rings swaying under Taitan's feet, and the huge aura lifted from his body, Hu Jiu rolled his eyes, and turned his head to shout, "Boss, Day, I'll lend you your martial soul." Before Daemube understood what was going on, Hu Jiu had already used his soul changing ability to transform Daemube's spirit. In an instant, Hu Jiu's body began to swell, his hands turned into tiger claws, 10 sharp claws popped out of his fingertips, and the cold light burst. His hair also turned dazzling gold, and the word king was pasted on his forehead. This was the first time that Hu Jiu had changed Daemube's spirit. Feeling a faint attraction from ZHU's King, Hu Jiu followed the trend. King, come on, I'm ready. Hu Jiu shouted and winked with ZHU's King. ZHU's King stared at Hu Jiu in a stunned manner. How did he know? It's too late. Come quickly. Hu Jiu urged. Okay. ZHU's King endured his shyness, and following the feeling stronger than Daemube's body, his body turned into a phantom and merged with Hu Jiu. What? Is this a martial soul fusion skill? Tang San was the first to react, and the others were also amazed. Unexpectedly, Hu Jiu and ZHU's King could actually use a martial arts fusion technique. No, he seems to have changed Boss Day's martial soul to merge with his martial soul. For a time, everyone looked at Daemube with strange eyes. Daemube's face was expressionless. He had already understood that his titular fiancé had already belonged to another person. And he was already prepared for it. It is even said that he has already let go. Otherwise, he would not go out to find a woman so recklessly. Good boy, I have a big heart. I don't dare to play like this. Behind Hu Jiu and the others, Flender slapped his mouth, and his eyes were filled with envy. However, after looking at Liu Erlong, who was very close to him, Flender was ready to hide the desire to complain in his heart. At the beginning, Hu Jiu told him that by using martial soul fusion, the mutual feelings would be passively enhanced. To this end, he also tried it out with his sister Erlong, and found that the effect was really good. Because when using martial arts fusion skills, you need to be careful, and you need to communicate with each other. After a long time, the feelings between each other will naturally increase. But the effect is not very obvious. But even so, he found that after this period of stalking, Liu Erlong seemed to treat him better. So, Hu Jiu is still his great benefactor. Moreover, the relationship between young people is their own business, and he will not interfere too much. Here, Hu Jiu and ZHU's King have completed the fusion of martial arts. When ZHU's King rushed towards him, the moment they merged, Hu Jiu only felt that his mind suddenly broke into a group of cold thoughts. In that cold thinking, there is a sense of unease and a deep sense of shyness. After merging with Hu Jiu, ZHU's King only felt that all his thoughts were stripped, and he exposed everything in front of Hu Jiu without concealment. How can this make her not shy? It's about to riot. Fortunately, at the critical moment, Hu Jiu hurriedly sent a soothing mood, which stabilized ZHU's King's mood. After the fusion of martial arts was completed, Hu Jiu and ZHU's King merged with each other, their figures disappeared, and a huge white tiger appeared in front of everyone. The white tiger is transparent throughout, with white hair and black stripes, and purple eyes. The body is 8 meters long, and the height is more than 2 meters. It is a behemoth. Chapter 214 Little San, take out your big hammer. Roar. Under the auspices of Hu Jiu, the huge transparent white tiger roared up to the sky, and circles of invisible sound waves spread out, making people breathless. The rest of Shrek involuntarily took a few steps back, staring at the ghostly white tiger formed by Hu Jiu and ZHU's King in stunned eyes. Although it wasn't aimed at them, under the king-like aura of the white tiger, they couldn't even think of doing something. This aura is even stronger than the goddess Anu of Jiu Jen Zio Wuji. Mahanjan said dumbly, "Fatty, do you dare to say this in front of Sister Zio Wu?" Oscar looked enviously at the white tiger, who was grabbing his limbs, as if he was about to jump out, to arrest his prey in the next moment, and cast a cold glance at Ma Hongjian. Ma Hongjian, that's right. If Sister Xiao Wu knew about this, I'm afraid it wouldn't kill him. Thinking of Miss Wu's explosive aid fall, Fatty shuddered violently. Haha, Fatty, you're done. I'm going to tell Sister Xiao Wu what you said. Ning Rang Grong laughed mercilessly. No, Rang Grong, under the joint action of Hu Jiu and Zhu Zuking, the netherworld white tiger leaped out violently, and the tiger's claws went straight to cover the titan. There is actually such a unique trick. This kind of prestige, Reo is Titan's well-informed, involuntarily dignified eyes. Such a big tiger claw is even bigger than him. The tiger claw fell, and the fierce wind howled, blowing him, making his hair stand on end. Ha, come on, Martial Soul Avatar. Now, the trump cards that I didn't want to use were forced out at this moment. You must know that martial soul avatars are generally not used easily, and the cost of using them once is very high. Martial soul avatar is a unique soul skill. After reaching level 70, everyone's bottom key spirit ring skill is a martial soul avatar, and the power varies depending on the strength of the martial soul point. After each use of the spirit avatar, the attributes of the spirit master will be weakened by 50%, and it will take 7 days to recover. Therefore, unless it is a last resort, a spirit master above the 70th level will never use his spirit avatar easily. However, after using the spirit avatar, the power is even greater. The spirit avatar reveals the main body of the spirit. Just like the current titan, after using the spirit avatar, the body becomes a gorilla with a height of 10 meters. That is, the nether white tiger after the fusion of Hu Jiu and Zhu Zuking's martial spirits is also a little smaller in front of him. Not only that, once the spirit avatar is used, you can use all spirit skills below the 7th ring, except the spirit avatar for 30 minutes without limitation. The power is 150% of the original. Haha, the third soul skill, the source of power. Tan contemptuously raised his arm on the ground and faced the tiger claws of the netherworld white tiger. Invisible fluctuations converged on his fist, and the surrounding air was shaking, as if there was an invisible force that gathered all the power in his fist. Bang. During the crash, there was a sound from a distance like the sky, and the entire Shrek trembled at this moment, and the weak student body shook involuntarily. This colliding sound could even be heard by the entire Heavendale city. Ning Feng's gaze stopped as he watched the play. He paused with his fingers and gave Bone Douluo a look, asking him to stop the battle at any time. Bone Douluo nodded hurriedly, his eyes fixed on Ning Rangrong. This is his little princess. If he received a little bit of damage, he might not be able to help but get angry. After the collision, the gorilla titan took 2 steps back, while the netherworld white tiger stepped back 7 or 8 steps. Roar. After stepping back for a moment, Beihuian killing roared involuntarily, and an invisible sonic attack poured straight into Titan's ears at the same time. Beihu stepped back, and while Titan was stunned, he threw out again. Beihu jumped in the air and opened his huge mouth. The target was Titan's head. What? At the critical moment, Titan reacted, avoiding the attack with his head, extending his arms, and entangled with the white tiger. Boom. Suddenly, a gorilla and a white tiger started a primitive fight. Behind him, Flender and the others watched nervously, for fear that Hu Jiu could not hold on accidentally. Boss Fu, do we want to stop it? Liu Erlang's brows were wrinkled, and his chest was fierce. This old orangutan was too shameless. He dared to come to her academy to make trouble. Family facepoint. If he hadn't known this old guy's temper, he might have gotten revenge. No, didn't you see that he has left his hand? Don't worry, it's better to let the little guys know. Flender shook his head, still looking at the battle solemnly. Mad, this thing is too shameless, and you even pulled down to deal with my disciple. Xiao Wuji's face was a little ugly. He and the old guy Titan were a little bit unreasonable, and he was chased by this guy for a long time because of a trivial matter. So shameless. No way. It seems that I can't beat this guy. Hu Jiu felt the unstable fluctuation of Zhu Zuking beside him. He could continue to fight, but Kitten couldn't hold on any longer. If that's the case, let's end here. with a thought. After entangled with Tang for a moment, Hu instantly took a big step back. Little son, hurry up, take out your hammer, and kill this turtle grandson. The moment he released his transformation, Hu Jiu hugged Zhu's Yuking's weak body and roared at Tang San next to him. Tang San, you can't beat it, let me fight. Hu Jiu didn't give him a chance at all and pushed him out. Listen to me, use a hammer. Behind him, Hu Jiu's voice came. Hearing this, Tang San's expression changed, revealing another martial spirit without hesitation. Although dad said not to use this hammer lightly, but looking at Jiu's meaning, using the hammer at this time seems to have a special effect. Out of trust in Hu Jiu, Tang San didn't hesitate. Tang San slowly raised his left hand, spreading his fingers. He didn't look at Titan, his eyes were all focused on his left hand. A rich black light gushed out from the palm of his hand, gradually condensing and forming. A small black hammer quietly appeared in Tang San's palm. The hammer was not big. The pattern above is dark, but the moment it appeared, Tang San seemed to be a lot heavier. A layer of condensed breath appeared around the body. Titan's body suddenly trembled violently. The body that had already rushed towards Tang San instantly stopped. This is not only Tang was shocked, but Nuo, who was beside him, widened his eyes and exclaimed. At this moment, a strong and vigorous voice sounded from all directions at the same time. Old orangutan, what kind of skill is it to bully children? It's been a long time. Let's do some tricks. The moment they saw Tang San's clear sky hammer, Ning Fengzi and Douluo couldn't sit still. He didn't care about watching a good show and appeared in front of everyone in an instant. Chapter 215 Ning Fengzhin-039's goal. The appearance of the clear sky hammer made Tang San the protagonist in an instant, and no one even looked into the fusion skills of Hu Jiu and Zhu's Yuking. Among the people present, whether it was Ning Fengzi, Douluo from the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, or Tang from the Power Clan, which one was not a human being? It is clear that the Clear Sky sect has closed the mountain gate. At this time, the appearance of the Clear Sky Hammer martial spirit is not normal in itself, and it is worth thinking about. And there is an old guy like Tang. You must know that there are certain differences between the martial soul Clear Sky Hammers, such as the patterns on the hammers, and so on. As Tang Heo's close subordinate, Tang could see at a glance that Tang San's Clear Sky Hammer was exactly the same as his master's. With this discovery, he couldn't guess the relationship. Even Douluo ignored it. He quickly disbanded his spirit avatar, his eyes filled with hot tears, trembling before Tang San. He reached out to touch Tang San's hammer. Tang San shrank back vigilantly, avoiding Tang's shameless behavior. His hammer is a treasure. How can anyone touch it casually? Titan embarrassedly stopped his hand in midair. Not going in. Not going in. Haha, old orangutan. It's shriveled now. It wasn't just screaming and killing, it was very arrogant. Douluo's mocking sound came from the side. At this time, everyone had all come to Tang San, feeling strange about the current situation. Didn't you just shout and kill? Why does it seem like you are going to play a better scene? For the Titan's obvious attitude, Flender knew it well. How could he not know the relationship between the Power Clan and that one? The corner of Tang's mouth twitched, then raised his finger and pointed at Tang San. Old bones, you can see what he's holding before you speak. You're still a title Douluo, don't you have any eyesight? Go. Rang was stunned for a moment, and his eyes fell on Tang San again. Follow the direction of the Titan's finger. It was possible to see the special pattern on the black hammer in Tang San's left hand. In an instant, his face changed immediately. He turned out to be Haoshan. Tang said with a smile. It's good to know. I'm flooded with the Dragon King Temple. I'm afraid you can only make fun of yourself. Ha 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 ha. As he spoke, Guran called him an old man. The orangutan laughed out loud, indescribably happy. It's your name's San. Let me ask you, what's your father's name? After laughing for a while, Tang asked Tang San with a mild tone. Seeing Tang's obvious attitude, Tang San's heart moved, and he answered honestly, my father is just an ordinary blacksmith in our village. His name is Tang Heo. You won't know him. PFFT. An ordinary blacksmith. Tang San pretended like this, and insider Hu Jiu was willing to give him full marks. Tang. Heyo, blacksmith. Tan's eyes widened, his eyes filled with incredible color, his hair and beard trembled for a while, unable to control himself for a long time. Master, how could you fall into such a situation? Back then, you were. Said this. The Titans were in tears, already weeping because of excitement. Tan's old face had a blush under Tang San's incredulous gaze. His majestic body made a thud. Kneeling down on one knee, the whole person was speechless with excitement. Senior, what are you doing? Tang San was startled by Tan's actions. Quickly dodge aside, and dare not accept the gift of the Titan point. He found that his father was really like Hu Jiu said, a very powerful title Douluo. Not only Gubo was afraid, but even Tan knelt down to him. Seeing Titan kneeling, Nuo and Long also rushed. The horsefly knelt down. Long's surprise was even bigger than Tang San's. He didn't understand why his grandfather's attitude changed drastically. It was Long's father, Nuo, who was also one of the parties, and knew best why his father Tan did this. Titan suppressed the agitation in his heart. Old slave Titan, see young master. Young master? These two words came out. Apart from the 7 treasure, glazed tile sect master Ningfengzi and Bone Douluo who had already guessed, the people present also knew about this matter, Flender and Zhao Wuji, and of course, Hu Jiu. The rest of the people around were shocked. Especially the teachers and students who vaguely guessed the strength of Titan. Even more surprised. Senior, can you clarify your words first? Tang San went to choose Tan, but the stubborn old man insisted on kneeling. Young master, the old slave can see you. I don't know where the master is now. Master. Tang San could of course hear the meaning in Tan's words. The master he was referring to should be his father at this moment. Tang San only felt that his father was too awesome. Even such a powerful soul Douluo was his servant. Too awesome. However, even though he had guessed these things, his expression remained unmoved, and he still looked ignorant. Cough. Little San, I don't think it's better than this. You can find a place to communicate with this guy first. It's not suitable for us to stop here. Besides, there is something waiting for you here in Rangrang. Seeing that the situation was in a stalemate, Hu Jiu reminded. For nothing else, it was mainly because Ningfengzi had a Bone Douluo by his side. This guy, Hu Jiu wanted to send him away as soon as possible, otherwise he would be very unfriendly to Zhao Wu. Until now, Zhao Wu is still hiding in Liu Erlang's private garden. Tang San also came to his senses. He still had a lot of things to ask, some things Zhao Jiu didn't tell him. He wanted to see if he could put some words on Tan. So he hurriedly nodded and said, that's right. Senior, please get up first. If we have anything to do, let's find a quiet place to talk. Tan glanced at Ningfengzi next to him with some vigilance. This just stood up. Young master, please talk to the old slave at home. This. Tang San looked at Ningfengzi beside Ningrangrang in embarrassment. He still had a business to discuss. What kind of character Ningfengzi was? How could he not see Tang San's embarrassment at this moment? And smiled slightly. I don't think so. Since we have come to Shrek Academy, we might as well visit the academy. Besides, I'm not in a hurry. I just happened to have a chat with this little brother. Saying that, Ningfengzi pointed to Hu Jiu, who was flirting with the kitten beside him. After the fusion of martial spirits just now, Hu Jiu and Zhu's Yuking were both affected by a lot. Ripples erupted between the two, and their heartbeats accelerated a bit. Brother, oh, no senior, why are you looking for me? Hu Jiu looked at Ningfengzi vigilantly. This guy really wants him to be his son-in-law. Haha, it's not a big deal. I heard that you have helped the little girl a lot, and we only met yesterday. How about you show me around Shrek Academy? Ningfengzi said with a gentle smile. This. Hu Jiu looked hesitant. Mother, don't you have a daughter? Why do you want me to bring something? Hu Jiu cursed inwardly. Chapter 216 Invitation. Haha, it's our honor to lead Sect Master Ning to visit the academy. Flender smiled and gave Hu Jiu a wink. Zhao Jiu, next, you can show Sect Master Ning a tour of our academy. Hu Jiu, okay. has received Flander's colors, which is for his own attention. Presumably, Flender was also afraid that Ning Fengzi would kidnap him. Next, the group split into two groups. One group was Tang San and Taitan. They went to a place to talk alone. Then came Flender and his party, including Hu Jiu, who accompanied Ning Fengzi around the academy. As for the rest of the Shrek 9 devils, except for Ning Rangrang who still followed, the rest were sent to do their own business here. Ning Fengzi had no interest in the enthusiastic Flender, but was very friendly to Hu Jiu, and with the chattering Ning Rangrang, the atmosphere was very harmonious. Haha. Xiao Jiu, can I call you that? Ning Fengzi asked with a smile. No problem, the elders call me that. Hu Jiu thought to himself, you have called me, what else can I do? Haha, Rangrang said you helped her a lot. Thank you. This little princess from our family is just too spoiled. I'm afraid you will be annoying too. Ning Fengzi teased. Dad, how can you talk about me like that? Ning Rangrang hugged his arm and pouted reluctantly. Haha, Dad was wrong. I apologize to you. Ning Fengzi let out a hearty laugh. Haha, actually I didn't help Rangrang. She's very cute. Hu Jiu praised. Haha, yes. Next, Ning Fengzi and Hu Jiu chatted for a while, then inadvertently revealed his purpose. Xiao Jiu, I think your strength is very good. You have cultivated to the Soul King realm at a young age. This is not explained by talent. I will say it straight. I want to invite you to join our 7 treasure glazed tile school. You can rest assured. With your talent, we must focus on cultivating it, and you will not be wronged. Ning Fengzi sincerely invited her. This Hu Jiu showed hesitation and gave Flender a silent wink. Ning Fengzi couldn't afford to offend him. Didn't he see the Bone Douluo standing beside him? As for joining the 7 treasure glazed tile school, he really doesn't want to go. So what if he joins the sect? With his ability, he won't get any benefit from joining the sect. Instead, there will be a lot of constraints. Why bother? Haha, sect master Ning, you're not being authentic. Xiao Jiu is still so young and hasn't graduated yet. Otherwise, let's talk about it when he graduates. Flender received Hu Jiu's eyes and hurriedly stood up. Come out and say point. Sure enough, he knew that this happened. Hu Jiu's talent need not be said. As long as he sees it, everyone will definitely fight for it. But Hu Jiu is now Shrek's student. How could he let it be given to outsiders? Yeah, Senior Ning, I'm still young. I don't want to do this now. I'll wait until graduation to join the sect, but I can guarantee that if I join the sect in the future, I will give priority to the 7 treasure glazed tile school. Hu Jiu respectfully said. By the way, gave Ning Rangrang a look of help. Oh, Dad, what are you doing? Brother Jiu is my good friend. What are you forcing people to do? Upon receiving Hu Jiu's look for help, Ning Rangrang's eyes flashed a hint of disappointment, and then shook Ning Fengzi's arm to help Hu Jiu out of the siege. Others don't know. Can Ning Rangrang not know? For a sect, Hu Jiu's cultivation of Hu Ginseng is of no importance. But she is not a ruthless person. She has already promised not to reveal Hu Jiu's secret. Moreover, she also extravagantly hoped that with the relationship between her and Hu Jiu, she would still be very sure to let him join the 7 treasure glazed tile school in the future. Haha, since that's the case, then I won't talk about it for now. But if Xiao Jiu wants to join the sect, the door of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect will be open for you at any time. Ning Fengzi accepted it as soon as he saw it. He also notes that a genius like Hu Jiu is not so easy to recruit. At this time, he can only slowly figure it out. Right now, he is just planting a seed first. No problem. Definitely. Hu Jiu breathed a sigh of relief, and this level was finally fooled. To be honest, Ning Fengzi put a lot of pressure on him, especially the Bone Douluo who never spoke much beside him. Because of his strong perception ability, Hu Jiu sensed the unbelievably huge soul inside Bone Douluo's body. In terms of soul power, even Tang Heo couldn't compare to him. Standing in front of Bone Douluo, Hu Jiu only felt chills all over his body, as if he was not facing a person, but a soul power bomb that could explode at any time. Next, the group was still in the restaurant academy, but under the leadership of Hu Jiu. They avoided the woods on the mountain behind the academy, where Xiao Wu stayed, so it was worth it. Point of course. Flender and the others didn't want them to go to Haoshan Woods. After all, it was a private site, let alone Ningfengzi. Even the students of the academy were strictly forbidden to enter. Fortunately, after walking around for a long time, Tang San and Tang had finished reminiscing and found Ningfengzi, who was drinking tea at the reception after visiting the academy. Dad, let me introduce you. He is the third brother I mentioned to you. My 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda can evolve thanks to him. What other hidden weapons are all made by the third brother? Seeing Tang San, Ning Rangrang immediately introduced him. Hello, Uncle Ning. I kept you waiting. Tang San bowed slightly to Ningfengzi. Ningfengzi smiled slightly and said, it's nothing. Sit down. Little San, can I call you that? Tang San nodded and said, you are Rangrang's father. Of course you can, Ning. Fengzi laughed and said, it seems that I have been exposed to Rangrang's glory. I heard Rangrang talk about you. With what you have at your current age, I dare to say that even your father didn't have it back then. Achieved. Frankly speaking, I'm here to pull you into the sect at all costs. Unfortunately, now it seems to have backfired. I didn't expect you to be the son of an old friend. Uncle Ning knows my father? Tang San's heartbeat, which he had finally suppressed, became agitated again. Through Hu Jiu and the chat with Tang just now, he almost knew who his father was. Ningfengzi nodded. Of course I know him. The youngest title Douluo in the mainland probably doesn't know much in the spirit master world, even though Tang San already knew his father's strength. When the words title Douluo were spoken from the mouth of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect master, he still couldn't help feeling a strong shock. The power of my father is really beyond my imagination. Even the sect master of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect, one of the 3 sects, is highly respected. How amazing. Then, do you know where my father is now? Tang San showed hope. He hadn't seen his father for many years. He missed him so much. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, talking about business. You don't know where your father is? Ningfengzi was shocked. Tang San nodded with a wry smile. I haven't seen dad for many years, but Xiao Jiu met once before. Speaking of this, Tang San felt aggrieved, feeling that this father was not his own. Instead of looking at him, he looked at others instead. He wondered if he was his father's son. Hearing Tang San's explanation, Ningfengzi didn't know what Tang Hao was thinking, but he was mild-mannered, and after a little comfort, he started talking about business. Little San, I came here to recruit you into the sect and give you the best treatment. But since you are the son of an old friend, this is obviously impossible. But my uncle is very interested in the hidden weapons you made, and I don't know about you. If you are willing to sell us the production method of this hidden weapon, you can set the price at will. Uncle will never bargain. Although Ningfengzi looked handsome and refined, his words gave off a sense of grandeur. The price is open at will. How arrogant this is. But Tang San is not a fool. The method of making the hidden weapon is top secret. Not to mention Ningfengzi, even Hu Jiu, who often helps him, has never met. Of course, this is also because Hu Jiu is not interested in this for a certain reason. Shaking his head, Tang San refused without hesitation. It's impossible. I won't sell the method of making hidden weapons. But I promised Rangrang that I can sell hidden weapons to your clan. The forging process can be handed over to you, but the final production and synthesis must be done by me. I will do it myself. One is because it is not easy to study the production methods of these hidden weapons, and I do not want to sell them, and the other is also because it will take at least a few years to teach craftsmen who can make these hidden weapons. I still need a lot of time to cultivation. I don't have time to do these things. Ningfengzi didn't expect Tang San to refuse so resolutely. The so-called giving a man a fish is not as good as teaching a man to fish. He naturally understood this. Ningfengzi attaches great importance to Tang San's hidden weapon, especially the concealment of the hidden weapon. When Ning Rangrang demonstrated it to him, He could see at a glance that this hidden weapon was against them, an auxiliary spirit master who had no offensive ability importance point, but Tang San didn't want to sell him the secret weapon making method, which made him feel embarrassed point after all. Hidden weapons are also depleted, so can we only rely on Tang San in the future? Ning Fengzi pondered. He wanted a hidden weapon. But what he wanted more was how to make it point. Seeing Ning Fengzi's thoughtful look in his eyes, Tang San's heart tightened, but his expression remained unmoved. He was not without confidence point. Although my father is not there, there is still a grandfather Tang I just met outside. Not to mention, this is Shrek. The dean and the others are still there. So Tang San didn't hesitate, and in a light tone, went straight to the next topic. I don't know that Uncle Ning wants those hidden weapons. Ning Fengzi came back to his senses. From Tang San's tone he could tell that there was obviously no discussion about the production method of hidden weapons. Although Tang San was only a teenager, he showed a calm expression. And the perseverance shown before is by no means easy to shake. Point immediately, Ning Fengzi retreated and said to Tang San, we have all seen the hidden weapons on Ran Grang's body. Just like the equipment on her body. I want 500 sets. I will pay 10,000 gold soul coins for each set. What do you think? Tang San said, the price is fine, but I want to state one thing in advance. In this full set of hidden weapons, the flying god claw on Ran Grang's right hand is not included. I can replace it with another silent sleeve arrow. Everything else remains the same. Because the flying god claw is not a hidden weapon. Although it is aggressive, it is more important to assist. Moreover, the material of the flying god claw is difficult to make, and it is difficult for ordinary craftsmen to complete it. Oh. Ning Fengzi didn't see Ning Ran Grang use the flying god claw, only now did he know that there was something in his daughter's hand, after listening to Tang San. However, he was extremely satisfied with the hidden weapon that Ning Ran Grang had used before, so he nodded with a smile and said, okay, just as you said. Besides, I will pay you an additional 1 million gold soul coins as a gift for you. Ran Grang's reward for that tulip. At the same time, I also want to ask you, do you have any more tulips? If you still have land, I'm willing to exchange it for any price. The temptation of the 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda was too great, and it was the only chance for him to go further. Although Ran Grang had already explained to him that immortal grasses were unique, if there were any problems, if they asked, they would not lose a piece of meat. Point unfortunately, Tang San's answer disappointed him. Kilo tulip, as an immortal medicinal herb, I'm afraid there is only that one in the world. All immortals will not exist in the same place. Maybe there are other places in the mainland, but I can't find it. Ran Grang's 1ZHU, I gave it to her. No money. When he gave out the immortal grass, he never thought about asking for money. Besides, the immortal grass was not very important to him. After all, the immortal grass was of little use to him. Sent. Okay, since Zio-san said so, then uncle will not be polite to you. Ning Fengzi showed a smile on his face, and he recognized Tang San even more in his heart. You're welcome. Tang San said, let's talk about hidden weapons. One thing I want to make clear first, I'm only responsible for the final assembly. For the production process of various parts in the middle, I have to ask Uncle Ning to find a way by himself. I heard from Ran Grang that Yorzong has a special blacksmith shop, which should not be difficult. At the same time, it is much easier for you to make parts in your own blacksmith shop, and it will be much easier to supply various accessories in the hidden weapons in the future, especially the crossbow arrow and steel needles and the like. While speaking, Tang San took out a stack of blueprints from the 24 bridges in the bright moonlit night, looked at them carefully, and handed them to Ning Fengzi. Silent sleeve arrows, stomping crossbows and flying blades between boots, can make double parts. Seeing Ning Fengzi taking over the blueprint, Bone Douluo on the side, couldn't help but say, boy, you are very good at doing business. You don't even care about making parts. It's too easy for you to earn 5 million gold soul coins. Uncle Bone. Ning Fengzi shook his head at Gurong, motioning him to stop talking. Tang San smiled lightly. If Uncle Ning thinks this price is unreasonable, you can lower it. You also proposed the previous price, so I have no opinion. Ning Fengzi smiled slightly and said, there's no need to lower it. Just follow what I said before. Although I'm not a slogan, the 7 treasure glazed tile schools credit is still there. Tang San nodded and said, that's it. Uncle Ning, thank you for your help just now. If there's nothing wrong, I want to go back to rest. Regarding the hidden weapon, please build 100 sets of hidden weapon parts, just send it here. After I assemble it, I will give it to you. You need to build the consumables on the various hidden weapons. Ning Fengzi didn't stay with Tang San much and got up in person and sent him out of the conference room. At the same time, he shoved a golden card into his hand. Ning Fengzi didn't say how much money was in it, but told Tang San that it was the money for hidden weapons. Chapter 218 Ning FENGZHIN-039 S calculation. Xiao Jiu. Take this card. After finishing the transaction, Tang San quietly found Hu Jiu and handed over the golden stored value card he had just obtained from Ning Fengzi. Why did you give me this, kid? Do you want to bribe me? I don't want it. Hu Jiu was stunned for a moment looking at the outstretched arm and said jokingly, give it to you and take it. Hu Jiu didn't answer. Tang San pushed it over and explained, you know, I don't need any money. Haven't you always wanted to buy spirit bones? Take it, we are brothers. Why are you being polite to me? Looking at Tang San's sincere gaze, Hu Jiu was silent for a while, took the golden stored value card, and said with a hearty smile, okay, let me borrow it from you, and return it to you later. Tang San handed over the money he just earned to him. He didn't expect that. A golden stored value card can only be found if the amount in it reaches 1 million. Although he didn't know how much it was definitely a lot. But Tang San gave it to him without even thinking about it, which moved him. By the way, I don't know the exact amount of money in it. You can help me check it out. I'll calculate how much Uncle Ning misses me. Tang San smiled and reminded the transaction between him and Ning Fengzi was 5 million, and when he received the card, he didn't know how much was in it. Okay. Hu Jiu looked happy. With this money, it is really possible to have an extra soul bone. It doesn't matter if the age is low. Anyway, you can hang up. The sooner you buy it, the greater the effect on him. However, generally speaking, there are very few spirit bones with a low age. Not only are the chances of producing them low, but they can't be sold for a price. Generally, the ones that are sold at auctions are 10,000-year-old spirit bones. By the way, Xiao Jiu, do you know when I can see my father? I miss him. What happened today made him feel uneasy. It has been 8 years since Dad left. A full 8 years. Hey, don't be sentimental. Uncle Heo cares about you very much. Maybe he is hiding somewhere to pay attention to you secretly at this time. Hu Jiu smiled. Really? Tang San's eyes lit up, looking at Hu Jiu with hopeful eyes. He knew Hu Jiu's perception ability. Maybe it was so. Well, it's very possible, but Uncle Heo is too powerful. If he wants to hide, even I can't perceive it. Hu Jiu smiled embarrassedly. This is actually a lie. His perception ability can already sense title Douluo. If Tang Heo appeared nearby, how could he not sense it? Forget it. Let me tell you some good news. After thinking about it, Hu Jiu decided to reveal a bit of news. In half a year, it will be the Continental Elite Spirit Master Competition. This competition has attracted a lot of people, so Uncle Heo will also be there. I will go, so let's work hard and let us shine in the competition, especially the spirit bone reward given by the spirit hall. That is a good thing. Licking his lips, Hu Jiu also looked forward to it. No matter how many soul bones are there, no one will despise them. Okay. Tang San nodded his head in anticipation. After all, he was still a 14-year-old child. Although he lived a new life, he never even left the sect in his last life, so he was very simple. On the other side, Ning Fengzi was talking to Bone Douluo about Tang San. Uncle Gu, what do you think of this kid Tang San? Ning Fengzi asked. It's very good. He became a level 44 control type soul sect at a young age. Although he can't compare to the food type soul king, he is a control type and is a twin martial spirit. His future achievements are limitless. Guran commented. I'm also very optimistic about this child. You said, if we let him and us Rang. Ning Fengzi looked expectant. Little San is that son of that person. He has an extraordinary background and is worthy of our precious princess. You want to get married? Durang's eyes lit up and he was instantly interested. Yes, this is a very good opportunity. That clear sky Douluo has disappeared. Let's take this opportunity to let Rang take the initiative and see if we can draw Xiao San to our side. It happens that the Clear Sky sect has been closed for many years. This is our chance. Ning Fengzi smiled. However, we don't know what Rang is thinking. Durang hesitated a little bit. Ning Fengzi's behavior meant that he sacrificed his daughter, to put it bluntly. Rang is still young now. Let's just guide you a little bit. Besides, Tang San's immortal grass let Rang's 7 treasure glazed tile pagoda evolve into 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda. With this kindness, maybe our family little princess. I have long been fascinated by her. Hahaha, this idea is worth a try. Durang also smiled in cooperation, but in the depths of his eyes, a strange color flashed. It really is the sect master, worthy of being the master of a sect, and it has become instinct to put interests first. Hu Jiu, who was chatting with Tang San in Shrek Academy, showed a disdainful smile on his face point, but looking at Tang San who was on the side, looking forward to it again. If Rang can really walk with Xiao San, he would still be very happy. That's right. The conversation between Ning Fengzi and Durang has always been in Hu Jiu's perception. As long as they are still in the academy, Hu Jiu will not relax. Just because of these two guys, his Xiao Wu is still hiding alone. So angry. However, Hu Jiu didn't have a good solution, so he could only look forward to it. He was looking forward to the skill effect of the 10,000-year spirit ring. In the evening, after Ning Fengzi and Durang left, the 9 Shrek monsters gathered together, and everyone's eyes swept across Hu Jiu, Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuking, and Mu Bei from time to time, with different expressions. What are you doing? What do you mean? Xiao Wu was a little puzzled. That, Miss Wu, do you know what's going on today? Mahanjan showed hesitation. His eyes were wicked, and he kept observing Hu Jiu's face. Sister Wu, brother 9th is about to be taken away. You should have some snacks. Fatty, what's your look? You can't tell anyone about anything. Just say it. Don't be funny here. Hu Jiu looked at Mahanjan angrily and scolded with a smile. But my heart is still a little empty. Performing martial arts fusion skills, especially when a man and a woman perform together, the fusion of souls is just like that. It is a very wonderful feeling. So, it's not that Xiao Jiu confused with Zuking's martial spirit, but it's Boss Day and Zuking who can really fuse with martial arts, right? With Mahanjan's explanation, Xiao Wu finally understood what happened today. Faced with Xiao Wu's question, Zhu Zuking lowered his head and remained silent without speaking, or he felt guilty. It was Mu Bei. After being silent for a while, he smiled casually and explained, haha, Zuking and I's martial spirits, one is a tiger and the other is a cat. It's not normal to be able to combine martial arts. What's so good about this? Strange, but I'm very curious, how did the 9th brother know about this? Mu Bei was a little curious. Chapter 219. Facing Mu Bei's question, Hu Jiu smiled lightly. Boss Day, I advise you not to ask. I have the ability to perceive, so it shouldn't be too simple to collect information. You and Zuking's identities can be hidden from others, but you can't hide it from me. Besides, your martial spirit is so obvious, it's even easier to know. Hu Jiu didn't directly point out Mu Bei's identity as an enemy country, which saved him some face and suspense. Mu Bei was stunned when he heard the words, and then suddenly realized, yes, such an iconic martial spirit, anyone with a little broader knowledge would know that, but he was a little self-righteous, and foolishly thought he was hiding everything from everyone. As a result, the clown turned out to be himself. Then, I'm with Zuking. Mu Bei swallowed the words he blurted out in time, ignoring the other people's eyes, looking up at Hu Jiu. 9th brother, I want to talk to you alone. Hu Jiu was taken aback by such a careful invitation. Could it be that this tiger still has an idea for Zuking? With a frown, Hu Jiu nodded, raised his feet, and walked out the door on the opposite side. Zhu King's expression changed even more. His sharp eyes swept towards Dame Yubei with a strong warning in his eyes. Dame Yubei seemed to be aware of it, but after turning his head to see Zhu King's gaze, he smiled lightly, giving him a mysterious smile point. That smile made Zhu King frown, not sure what it meant. Following Hu Jiu and Dame Yubei's departure, the house became quiet for a while. Only Xiao Wu's intuition was that the atmosphere was a bit wrong, and her eyes looked at Zhu King from time to time, very curious. Boss Day, is there anything you have to say alone? Hu Jiu asked straight to the point when he came to the no man's place. Yeah. Dame Yubei was silent for a while, looked up at Hu Jiu, and said with a serious face, "Ninth brother, since you know that Zhu King's and I's martial spirits can be fused, then you know that my family and Zhu King's spirits can be fused. The origin of the family, I've heard of it, but it's not particularly clear." Hu Jiu said, ambiguous, "It's up to me." Dame Yubei sighed. "Actually, our two families are very close because of their martial arts, to the extent that, as long as the age difference is not big, we will basically get married. So." Hu Jiu raised his brows. "This is to be revealed." "That's right, it's what you think." Dame Yubei gave a wry smile and began to explain the details. It was similar to what Hu Jiu knew. Dame Yubei did not hold back. Not only did he reveal the identity of the prince, but also the fact that he was engaged to Zhu King, and even told Hu Jiu the cruel rules for the selection of the royal heir. "Ninth brother, I really appreciate you. Without your help, I would not have achieved what I'm now. Don't worry, although Zhu King is my fiancé, it was arranged by the family. I only regard her as a younger sister. I don't have any other thoughts, and I won't rob you." Dame Yubei said sincerely. Hu Jiu retorted weakly, "What, to rob or not? I don't understand what you are talking about. Zhu King, I also treat him as a sister. She is my little junior sister." Hu Jiu. Dame Yubei glared at Hu Jiu and looked at Hu Jiu angrily. His brother stopped yelling. "You are still not a man. Feel your conscience yourself. Say, do you really care about Zhu King?" If Dame Yubei had dared to yell at him like this at other times, Hu Jiu would have done it a long time ago, but in this matter, he was indeed a bit wrong. It would be a lie to say that he doesn't have any thoughts about the kitten, not to mention the beauty of the person. The key is his persistent and firm temperament, which he greatly appreciates. "Hey, you know, I already have Xiao Wu." Hu Jiu sighed. He was a little embarrassed about this. "What's wrong with Xiao Wu? I think you just want to run away. If you really like it, you can marry both of them. Look at those nobles. How many do you want to marry? With your ability, it's not good to be a noble. Is it a simple matter?" Dame Yubei interrupted Hu Jiu's defense. "Mother, I've never seen someone like you." Hu Jiu scolded. "My fiancé is still pushing outside. Your mother is not a man. You fart. If the person Zhu King likes is me, do I need to push it out? Besides, if this person wasn't you, I would have killed him long ago." Dame Yubei also cursed as they went back and forth. The two of them refused to accept each other, arguing, and they simply moved their hands just like street gangsters, scratching hair, picking ears, nose, and even wrestling together, rolling on the ground. After a while, the two of them had tattered clothes, blue noses and swollen faces, lying too lazy to move. Hu Jiu turned his head to look at Dame Yubei, and Dame Yubei's gaze also came over at the same time. Looking at the scars on their bodies, the two laughed out loud, like two drunken lunatics. After a long time, the laughter stopped. Hu Jiu opened his mouth and said, "Brother, thank you. You are right. If you like it, you like it, but I was wrong. It's a big deal. I can get a clone, one to marry Xiao and the other to marry Zhu King. One for each, and no one is jealous." The dignified transmigrators naturally have their own arrogance. They have come to transcend, and they are still timid. It's not that you can't find yourself at ease. This is the ninth brother in my mind. Dame Yubei smiled, and then said sincerely, "Don't worry about the marriage contract. I will work hard this year, and wait until I defeat Davis, and get the crown prince position. The marriage contract is easily resolved. The Big family has a lot of things to do. You are my brother. If you have anything to help, feel free to ask, and I owe you. Now that everything has been said, Hu Jiu is not sloppy. He recognizes this brother Daimyu Bei. What? Do I owe? If you say that, I'm going to be angry. Besides, if I didn't have you, I wouldn't be where I am today. Maybe, at this time, I'm still thinking about escaping from reality. Daimyu Bei pretended to be angry, said, okay, let's go. Let's go back first, or they'll have to worry about it later. The two supported each other and limped towards the dormitory. Boss Day, you're such a motherfucker that you actually attacked Xia Sanlu. I didn't expect you to be such a boss Day. You still told me. You still arrested me. Dao. You look swollen. How can I go to see those sisters in Shandao City? Deserved. Shit. Time flew by, and in a blink of an eye, a month passed, and Hu Jiu's mood became more and more nervous because, on the on-hook panel, the age of the first spirit ability and the third spirit ability is getting closer and closer to 10,000 years, and there will be a huge improvement soon. Hu Jiu was very much looking forward to this, especially on the eve of the upgrade of the third spirit ability. Chapter 220, Teleport Upgrade. Name, Hu Jiu Cultivation, Level 57 Soul King Point. The first spirit ring. 99-95 point Soul Ring Skill, Absorb. Double the training speed. Second Soul Ring, Year 94 55 point Soul Ring Skill, Change. Can change into anyone's appearance, including clothing and martial arts, but cannot change into spirit skills. Incidentally, it changes its own muscles and nerves to temporarily increase the strength of the body. Restrictions. Changing the spirit must be face to face. The third spirit ring. 10,000 years Soul Ring Skill, Teleport. Move a short distance. Move freely within a kilometer. Ultra long distance movement, with Hushin as the positioning coordinate. The movement distance depends on the soul power. Fourth Soul Ring, Year 90-60 point Soul Ring Skill, Holy Light. Dispels the negative state of the body, restores stamina, and heals injuries. Fifth Soul Ring. 12,470 point Soul Ring Skill, Furious Hushin. Increase all attributes by 37%. It lasts for a quarter of an hour, and can be perfectly stacked with other auxiliary effects. Haha, the 10,000 year spirit ring is really powerful. Taking Hu Shen as the coordinates, isn't this the Douluo version of Flying Thunder God? As soon as the third spirit skill was improved, Hu Jiu noticed the change in the skill, and excitedly waved his fist, and laughed. The promotion of the third spirit ring to 10,000 years is not a simple numerical change. The benefits of the 1,000 year and 10,000 year spirit rings on physical fitness and soul power are very different. Just at the moment of the increase in age, Hu Jiu felt that his physical fitness increased rapidly. There is also the soul power in the body, which is almost 1/10 thicker. In addition, the spirit power level has been raised by 1 level, becoming the 57th level Spirit King. After carefully sensing the changes in the teleportation spirit ability, he discovered that, when he used his spirit ability, he could actually teleport people. Of course, he couldn't bring more. Currently, he could only bring one, and he had to make physical contact. The magic skill of escape. With this, you can rest assured and boldly wander freely in the future. With a grin, Hu Jiu's dangling heart finally let go. In the past, he had no strength, and his ability was not enough. In front of title Douluo, he had to bow his head, and he didn't even speak hard. Now there is the Flying Thunder God version of teleportation. I'm still afraid of a fart. I can't beat you. I can't run. Even if you catch it, you can't find it, and you can't throw it away. It's disgusting to death, because it was too late. Hu Jiu was excited for a while. Drowsiness came, and fell asleep, while lying on the bed. Until the next day. Hu Jiu was full of smiles and teleported Hu Shen when he saw anyone. Xiao Wu, Zhu Zuking, Daimyu Bei, Tang San, Mahangjin, and others. All of the Shrek 9 monsters tweeted over and over, Xiao Jiu, what are you? Xiao Wu and Tang San knew Hu Jiu best. Seeing him like this, they had a hunch in their hearts. Because this is not the first time this has happened. Hey, that's right, the spirit ring skill has been upgraded. In the future, I will keep the teleportation Hushin I gave you. I can rely on this to sense your position and move to your side. By the way, if this Hushin is released I can't sense it in the soul tool. Really? Improved. Tang San stared at Hu Jiu, his eyes fiery. The improvement of the effect of the spirit ability can only explain one thing, that is, the lifespan of Hu Jiu's spirit ring has been increased to 10,000 years. How many years has it been? Hu Jiu raised the 1,000-year spirit ring to 10,000 years. He remembered that Hu Jiu's third spirit ring was only 2,000 years old. Does that mean that the rest of the other spirit rings are coming soon? Thinking of this, Tang San felt that he couldn't be called a monster at all. Hu Jiu was, well, you see. Hu Jiu smiled lightly, no longer concealed, and used his spirit power to reveal the 5 spirit rings. The upgrade of his teleportation soul skill gave him the confidence to act recklessly, not hiding the age of his soul ring. 3 purple, 2 black, 5 spirit rings with bright and blind eyes appeared at their feet in slowly rhythm, causing the other members of Shrek 9 Devils to rub their eyes in disbelief. 9. Ninth brother, 2 10,000-year spirit rings, 3,000-year spirit rings. This good guy. This kind of blinding scene made Mahanjan stutter. Wrong. Hu Jiu stretched out his finger and shook it, pointing at the other 3 soul rings on the ground that turned black and purple. In a short while, these soul rings will be all 10,000 years old. Got. Ninth brother, you are simply a monster among our Shrek monsters. Oscar screamed incredulously, and his mind turned faster, instantly thinking of other things. If ninth brother's cultivation is uhu, the ginseng is also increased to 10,000 years. Will the effect of the spirit ring skills also increase? What do you mean? Isn't it obvious? Daemube replied, but his body trembled slightly, which was excited point to talk about what Hu Jiu's most powerful soul skill is. I'm afraid everyone will say that it is a soul skill that can increase the speed of cultivation. This point, even the evolution of Hu Shen can't compare. After all, the effect of evolutionary ginseng is too slow, and cultivating ginseng is indeed immediate point. As long as you eat cultivated ginseng, the effect of cultivation can be seen with the naked eye. Point. They are the 9 Shrek monsters, and all of them are the beneficiaries. Brother Jiu, when did your cultivation of Hu ginseng evolve? Ningrangrang ran to Hu Jiu's side with a smile, hugging his arm and shaking point. Unfortunately, too little meat. The effect is not good, and she was disliked by Xiao Wu. Tomorrow. This spirit ability was what Hu Jiu was looking forward to the most, so he remembered it very clearly. Ho ho, Ning. Rangrang let out a series of strange laughter. Her face flushed with excitement, hugged Hu Jiu's head, and kissed him fiercely. Rangrang, what are you doing? Because Ningrangrang's movements were too fast. When Xiao Wu stopped her, Hu Jiu had already been kissed several times by her. Sister Xiao Wu, I'm so happy. Don't worry, I won't fight you for brother 9. Ningrangrang giggled. She kissed her and looked like a hooligan. Go away. Xiao Wu pushed Ningrangrang away in disgust, ran to Hu Jiu's side, took out a handkerchief, and wiped it at the place where Rangrang had just kissed. Ha. The others in Shrek laughed when they saw Xiao Wu protecting food. Hu Jiu's face was innocent, as if he was taken advantage of. Do you want to take it back, little son? You should take care of your family. Rangrang. During this time, Ningfengzi may have instilled something in Ningrangrang. Since that meeting, Ningrangrang's attitude towards Tang San seems to be different. In Hu Jiu's eyes, he seems to have gotten a lot closer. Tang San was even more innocent. He was about to explain, but was interrupted. Ninth brother, what are you talking about? What do I have with the third brother? If we have it, we also have it with you. You are the greatest potential stock. Ningrangrang defended. Okay, Rangrang, you still said that you're not interested in my family's Xiao Jiu, so let's reveal it now. Xiao Wu felt so wronged. 1 ZHU's yuking is enough. Now there's one morning. Rangrang, when will it be the head? Then you blame brother 9 for being so good. I can't help it too, Ning. Rangrang is going to have a witch's nature, and she will say anything without fear at all. Chapter 221 Tenfold Cultivation Effect. After possessing the second 10,000-year spirit ring, Hu Jiu also confirmed one thing: the effect of the spirit ability of the 10,000 year spirit ring was different from that of the 1000 year spirit ring. The effect of the 10,000 year spirit ring skill is improved in real time. For others, it may be useless. After absorbing the spirit ring, the effect of the spirit ability has been determined, and the effect of the spirit ring is, as long as the number of years, and it will not change. But he can hang up the spirit ring, increase the age, and the effect of the spirit ring skill will also increase. Just like the 5th spirit ring skill rage, the effect has changed from a 34% increase in all attributes to a 37% increase, an increase of 3 percentage points. Don't look at this little improvement. It seems to be very small, but in actual application, 3 percentage points is still very strong, because this is an overall improvement, not a single attribute point. There is also the 3rd soul skill, teleportation. After the age of the soul skill is increased, the range of teleportation is improved. On this day, after tens of thousands of courses, Hu Jiu took the time to make teleportation ginseng in various places in Shandao City and planted them by the waypoint. These ginseng can be used for positioning. When teleporting over a long distance, they are the positioning coordinates in my mind. The light spots representing the positioning coordinates are shining, and some are dark and not bright. Some are shiny. The bright light points represent that he can move in the past with his strength, while the dark ones are beyond the teleportation range, and the distance is too far. Hu Jiu had tested it, and with his current strength, he could teleport as far as 10,000 meters away. From Shandao City to the Stardao Great Forest, it was just over 200 kilometers, and he could reach it by teleporting about 20 times, counting the time. To restore the soul power, it will only be able to arrive in the morning. Even if you can meet the Holy Spirit village, it will not take a day. As long as you have the positioning in advance. In the future, the distance is not far away. There is no difference for Hu Jiu. If the strength is strong, the entire Douluo continent, he can go wherever he wants. A matter of teleportation. After dinner, the Shrek 9 monsters gathered again, all gathered in Hu Jiu's dormitory. What are you doing? Hu Jiu looked at the excited crowd inexplicably. I know the reason. Xiao Wu replied with a smile. Didn't you say in the morning that you can raise the 1st spirit ring to the 10,000 year level? They can't wait to know the effect. Xiao Jiu, are we disturbing you? Tang San was more sensible after all, although he also wanted to see the spirit ring upgrade as soon as possible, but he was worried about disturbing him. Haha, it's not a big problem. I'm just afraid that you will wait for a long time. I guess it's almost midnight. Hu Jiu understands everyone's impatient behavior. After all, let alone other people, even if it is him, he knows this in advance. Can't sleep after the news. If it won't disturb the 9th brother, then we are willing to wait with you, Mahanjan said with a smile. Yes, no problem. Hu Jiu nodded. Since he is willing to wait, let's wait together. He also wants to see how powerful the 1st spirit ring is, being able to improve to the current level so quickly. The 1st spirit ring skill is indispensable. Not only himself, but also Shrek and others, who can improve their level so quickly, which is not because of cultivating ginseng. When there are many people, it becomes lively. Hu Jiu hides beside Xiao Wu and Zhu Zuking, chatting with everyone. The relationship between the two became even more ambiguous, because of the reason that he and Zhu Zuking used the martial arts fusion technique last time. Xiao Wu also had a vague premonition, but she didn't say anything. As if she had acquiesced, the early morning came, a new day came, and on the on-hook panel, the age of all spirit rings was instantly increased by 5 years. The 1st spirit ring became his 3rd 10,000 year spirit ability. Name: Hu Jiu cultivation, level 57 Soul King. The 1st spirit ring, 10,000 years soul ring skill, absorb. Increase the training speed tenfold. 2nd soul ring, year 9460. Soul ring skill, change. Can change into anyone's appearance, including clothing and martial arts, but cannot change into spirit skills. Incidentally, it changes its own muscles and nerves to temporarily increase the strength of the body. Restrictions: changing the spirit must be face to face. 3rd soul ring, year 10,005. Soul ring skill, teleport. Move a short distance, move freely within a kilometer. Ultra long distance movement. With Hushin as the positioning coordinate, the movement distance depends on the soul power 4th soul ring. Year 9065 point soul ring skill. Holy light. Dispels the negative state of the body, restores stamina, and heals injuries 5th soul ring. 12,475 point soul ring skill. Furious Hushin. Increase all attributes by 37%. It lasts for a quarter of an hour and can be perfectly stacked with other auxiliary effects. Self-created soul skills. Soul skill meditation. Level 10. The training effect increases by 90%. 5 senses strengthening technique. Level 10. Vision, hearing, touch, smell, and taste are greatly improved, and the perception ability is awakened. The perception range is 5 miles, and it can be imaged in the brain within 200 meters. Shattered cloak hammer. Level 10. 81 hammers are combined into one, and the last hammer increases his strength by 10,000 pounds. Point control. No level. Controlling the soul power and the physical body can achieve absolute control over the soul power. Poison escape spiral pill. No level. The 1 meter sized spiral pill of soul power rotates at a high speed after condensing and forming, and its attack power increases as the level increases. It contains 8 spider spear toxins and elemental attacks of ice and fire. Point hidden weapon technique. Level 9. Learning from Tang San. There are many advanced techniques for using hidden weapons. King Kong is not bad. 9th level. Improve physical fitness. Improve strength. Defense. Point phantom dodge. Level 9. Improve dexterity and avoidance speed. The body reacts faster than the brain. This is a dodging skill with weird body movements. Distraction control. Level 7. 7 orifices, exquisite mind, and 7 uses of distraction. Point nether soul requiem bell. Level 6. Soul skills that attack the sea of consciousness such as passive defense spirit and charm. Point hand knife. Condensed a soul power hand knife about an inch long, combined with the hidden weapon technique. The power is infinite. Point white tiger sound killing roar. Sonic attack. Shocks the enemy's sea of consciousness. The action of the light is disturbed. The brain bursts in the serious, and the body is dead and the soul disappears. Shockwave. Soul power condenses under your feet, shaking the ground, and affecting the actions of the enemy. Point attached spirit bone. Tongue. Quickly pops, tying up prey. The toughness is extremely strong, and the general attack cannot break away, and the maximum binding distance is 20 meters. Attached spirit bones. 8 spider lances. The spider spear produces strong toxins, which absorb the soul power of people or soul beasts to supplement growth. A small amount of filtered essence can be absorbed, and too much absorption will affect the zinxing. Point head spirit bone. Greatly increases the host's spiritual power. Comes with spiritual shock. Point spiritual shock. At level 10, the ability of spiritual shock is doubled. As long as the spiritual power is not too much higher than his, it will inevitably suffer from mental damage. Point the first spirit ring skill, absorption, has a simple effect, and it only increases the training speed by 10 times. This is the effect of the 10,000 year soul skill. After the spirit ring was upgraded, Hu Jiu had a smile that could not be concealed on his face, let go of the physical restrictions, and revealed the spirit ring. Chapter 222. The effect of hanging up is improved. The second purple, the third black, and the 5 spirit rings looked even more domineering in the dark night, and all of a sudden they focused the attention of the other Shrek 9 devils. Did the upgrade succeed? Xiao Wu learned to be smart this time. Before anyone else approached, she took a seat first, and her whole body was about to hang on Hu Jiu's body, making it impossible for others to start. House. The effect. Tang San grabbed everyone's attention with just one sentence, ignoring Xiao Wu's small movements. Ning Rangrang covered her mouth and snickered, as if she had a sense of accomplishment. The effect is not bad, it's only 10 times higher, and it didn't exceed my expectations. Hu Jiu touched his chin, and said lightly. Point it's a pity that there is only fluff on the chin, no beard at all, and the effect of beeping is not very good. Point other people. 10 times more. Old Versailles. 1 piece. Xiao Wuxing hurriedly stretched out her small white hand, indicating that she wanted to try the effect. Haha, both. Hu Jiu touched the scorpion braid on her head, pampering her very much. Hey, you two are too tired and crooked. We still have so many people here. Ning Rang Rang stuck out his tongue to the two of them in disgust. Haha, please don't hurry up. The proportion of Shrek's 9 monsters is not bad. It's not a problem to make up 4 pairs. Xiao Wu hugged Hu Jiu's shoulders, showing no shyness. Instead, they started to attack on a large scale point. In fact, what Xiao Wu said was right. Among the Shrek 9 monsters, there are 5 males and 4 females. 4 pairs are more than enough. It's a pity that some people don't live up to it, alas. Ning Rang Rang glanced at Dame Bei, Mahanjan, and Oscar with disgust, and glanced at Tang San. Although this was excellent, it was too ordinary to call point. Therefore, the eyes finally fell on Hu Jiu. Nodding with satisfaction, I'm quite satisfied. Although it is a food type soul master, it is very powerful, and the effect of soul skills is also powerful. The key is that it is quite handsome. With this comparison, it is really difficult to choose. Hey, Rang Rang, don't look at it. Xiao Jiu is mine. He already has the master. You choose someone else to go. The look in Ning Rang Rang's eyes suddenly made Xiao Wu vigilant, and she came to Hu Jiu in a protective manner, blocking Ning Rang Rang's gaze. Ha ha ha. Xiao Wu's performance made the others laugh. Besides being funny, Dame Bei, Mahanjan, and Oscar were also very depressed. Rang Rang, what kind of eyes are you looking at? Are we not worthy of you? Dame Bei said, pretending to be disappointed. That's not it. Don't think I don't know about the 3 of you. If you don't go home often, do you want me to tell you where you went? Ning Rang Rang stuck out her tongue apologetically, but thought about it. For what the 3 of them usually did, the little apology in their hearts disappeared in an instant. The 3 Dame Bei were pointed out by Ning Rang Rang, and they all turned their attention. This matter was indeed a fact, and there was no way to argue. Just at this moment, Hu Jiu had already made the upgraded Hu Ginseng, and the 3 of them hurried forward to try the effect of the latest spirit ability. Hu Jiu distributed the rest of the ginseng to others, and took one for himself to taste. Good to eat. Cultivating Hushin is useless to him. The first soul skill has become a passive skill for him, and the training effect is 10 times stronger for 24 hours a day. With distraction control, he is always meditating and practicing. Just for a while, he had already felt that kind of cultivation effect that kept growing. Others also ate the ginseng, sat cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Seeing that everyone else was cultivating, Hu Jiu simply returned to his seat and began to feel the other effects of this upgrade of the spirit ring. In addition to the 10-fold increase in the effect of the spirit ability, the spirit power attached to the 10,000 year spirit ring is also a lot. It was only raised to the 57th rank yesterday, and it has improved by 1/10 today. If the remaining 2 spirit rings are also upgraded to 10,000 years, it must be not far from the next grade. Of course, this benefit is not a big deal. The key is the improvement of the on-hook panel, and absorbing the upgrade of the spirit ring means that the harvest of on-hook will become stronger again every day in the future. In the past, the time limit for raising the spirit ring every day was 5 years, but now this time limit has definitely changed, but I just don't know how much it will increase. This will only be known tomorrow. 9th. Brother, hurry up, have another one. I'm going to practice overnight today. In a blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Mahanjan opened his eyes and looked at Hu Jiu's eyes that were sparkling and hot. 10 times the speed of cultivation. The extraordinary speed of improvement is simply fascinating, and it is impossible to stop. 9th. Brother, I want to. 9th. Brother, little. 9. The others also completed their cultivation at this time, and their eyes all turned the same. The strong flame was as if they wanted to set Hu Jiu on fire. Okay, let's practice slowly. I won't accompany you. Hu Jiu took out a handful of ginseng to cultivate, which was made while they were cultivating just now. Go, Xiao Wu, let's go to bed. Who is sleeping with you? If you want to sleep on your own, I will compensate Zuking and Rang Rang. Xiao Wu laughed. She didn't fall for Hu Jiu. Whether it was cultivating Hu Ginseng or teleporting Hu Ginseng, Hu Jiu ordered the rest of Shrek not to spread the word. After getting along for so long, Hu Jiu was still at ease in this regard. Besides, he also has the ability to protect himself now. Even if it is exposed, he will leave as soon as he wants, and no one can do anything about it. In addition to the Shrek 9 monsters, Hu Jiu also knew about this matter. This is his teacher. As a disciple, if you have good things, you must first show filial piety. According to Xiao, he was about to reach level 78 soon, and Hu Jiu's cultivation of Hu Shen came just right, just enough to allow him to complete his breakthrough point. When his strength has reached his level, there are bottlenecks at every level, and those who cannot break through will stay in this realm for the rest of their lives, of course. This kind of bottleneck is definitely not as difficult as breaking through the big realm. If you are willing to spend more time, you can still grind it through. The next night, the exciting time came again. The Azure on hook panel was suspended in front of him, and Hu Jiu stared at it without blinking until the last minute of 0:50. Ha ha ha, 50. Ha 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 ha. Hu Jiu laughed wildly, trembling with excitement. The noise was so loud that everyone else was woken up. After comforting Tang San and the others who came to inquire, Hu Jiu closed the door with a smile that couldn't be concealed on the corner of his mouth. He was so excited. Because the hang-up effect was too great, he actually increased the age of the spirit ring by 50 years in one day. This kind of improvement speed was something he had never thought of. The increase in the age of the spirit ring will also increase the effect of the spirit ability, which means that the training speed will be further improved. Let's meet in a few years. Chapter 223 Big Step. The first spirit ring was simply born for the hang-up panel. After upgrading to a 10,000 year spirit ring, it brought huge benefits to Hu Jiu. Adding 50 years to the life of a spirit ring in one day was something that I never dared to imagine before. After careful calculation, with the current on hook progress, even if all spirit rings were upgraded to 100,000 years, it would only take a little over 4 years. What is the concept of a 100,000 year spirit ring? Just look at Tang Hao. Get a 100,000 year spirit ring and kill them directly, including Pope Kayang Sunji, Chrysanthemum Douluo, Ghost Douluo, and many other spirit Douluos. Therefore, as long as there is a 100,000 year spirit ring, it represents power. If it weren't for the benefits of a 100,000 year old spirit ring, the 100,000 year old spirit beast wouldn't be a sweet treat. As for Hu Jiu, he could get any spirit ring just by hanging up for a few years, and it wasn't even one. Tang Hao can kill so many people with a 100,000 year old spirit ring, so all his spirit rings can be upgraded to 100,000 years old. Doesn't that mean invincibility? That night, Hu Jiu thought about it a lot. He dreamed that he beat Bibidong with Xiao Wuquan, kicked Wuhan Hall, and even locked Bibidong, tied her in an unsightly pose, and punished her. When he woke up the next day, Hu Jiu felt wet and cool. Hu Jiu, sitting up in a daze, he was thinking, should he find some time to go out with Dame Yubei to talk to the young lady? But then I thought it was not worth it. He is not a casual person. Damn puberty sprouting. With 10 times the speed of cultivation, the effect is really amazing. After only one day, Xiao Jiu excitedly told everyone good news. He had broken through to level 78 and had already caught up with Dean Flender in level. Upon hearing this news, Flender was simply envious and hated. Xiao was able to improve so quickly. No need to say whose credit, and it's not that he didn't know about Hu Jiu's cultivation of Hu Ginseng. Xiao Jiu, you can't favor one over another. Leo Xiao is your teacher, so am I not? Do you want to give us some too? Flender rubbed his hands and said to Hu Jiu in a pleasing manner, yeah, Boss Fu is right. I'm Xiao Wu's godmother, and you and Xiao Wu will need my approval to get married in the future. Please think about it carefully. Liu Erlang patted Hu Jiu on the shoulder, said earnestly, hey, what are you two doing? Xiao Jiu is my disciple. What are you doing together? Xiao said a satisfied point, but he didn't refute it much. After all, he was a good brother for decades. It would be a good thing if Hu Jiu could pull him. No problem. Recently, the effect of my spirit skills has improved a lot. Other than that, Hushin with double the cultivation effect can still be guaranteed. Not only Dean Flender and Dean Liu Erlang, Teacher Xiaozin, Li Yusang teacher, as well as Teacher Lu Kibin, Hu Jiu said with a smile. In fact, because of the increase in spirit power and level, making Hushin with double the effect of cultivation is already very simple for him. The difficulty is 10 times the cultivation of ginseng. At present, making one will consume more than half of the whole body's soul power, and even the other Shrek 9 monsters only get a few a day, which is not enough. Haha, that's right. If there is anything that can't be solved in the future, come to me, and I will cover you. Liu Erlang laughed heartily, patted his chest, and assured Hu Jiu, this bitch isn't a good person, but to threaten me with Xiao Wu, is there any reason? Also, is your hood a serious hood? With Hushin with 10 times the speed of cultivation, Shrek's cultivation speed also entered the fast lane. In just 10 days, except for Hu Jiu, the 8 monsters of the rest of the people were upgraded by 1 level. Hu Jiu, Wu and Hushin, level 57 food type auxiliary soul king. Xiao Wu, martial soul soft bone charming rabbit, 52 agility attack type battle soul king. Damu Bei, martial spirit white tiger, 49th level assault type battle spirit sect. Tang San, martial soul blue silver grass, 45 level control system battle soul sect. Mahanjan, martial spirit phoenix, 42 attack type battle spirit sect. Oscar, Wuhan sausage, 42 food type auxiliary soul sect. Zhu Zuking, the martial soul ghost cat, the 42 agility attack type battle soul sect. Ning Rangrong, martial spirit 9 treasure glazed tile pagoda, 42 auxiliary spirit sect. Meng Yaran, martial soul dragon staff, 42 attack type battle soul sect. Although everyone had been practicing for a while before this, and the medicinal power of the immortal grass had not been digested, it was enough to prove the sky-defying effect of cultivating ginseng. This kind of cultivation speed that can be seen by the naked eye makes everyone addicted, and they can't wait to cultivate until the end of the world and never stop. It's a pity that Hu Jiu's ability is limited. Except for himself, Shrek's others can get 2 or 3 sticks of ginseng to cultivate 10 times a day at most. This is also impossible. 10 times the effect of cultivating ginseng is so strong. How can it be so well made? Fortunately, the 10-fold cultivation effect is only a passive effect for him, and he doesn't need to make his own share. Otherwise it would be good for others to get 1 a day. 10 times the effect of cultivation, and another effect that came with it surprised him. That is the soul power meditation method. This soul skill has been at full level a long time ago, but because there is no better way to promote him. Now it's better, because the training speed has increased tenfold, and the progress bar of the soul power meditation method changes every day. After 10 days, the progress bar of the soul power meditation method is full, and the promotion is completed. When the soul power meditation method was promoted, Hu Jiu's mind was filled with a lot of insights about meditation practice. These insights and knowledge seemed to exist in the first place, and did not cause him any discomfort. After the soul power meditation method was upgraded, the name changed to the word meditation, which was simple and convenient. The improvement in the training effect is not large, and the training speed is doubled. For him, who has 10 times the training effect, it is better than nothing. Rather, its side effects are more interesting. Meditation seems to have turned into the instinct of the body. As long as the mind moves, you can enter the state of meditation at any time. After entering the meditative state, Hu Jiu seemed to enter a state where his mind was like still water. His mind was clear and sharp, free from external interference, and became very rational. It was as if in ancient legends the heaven and man were one, and the whole person was integrated into the heaven and the earth. Even if you were standing in front of others, if you didn't see it with your eyes, you would not be able to find anyone in front of you by sensing alone. Hey, with this move, I can work as a part-time assassin in the future. Hu Jiu rubbed his chin in thought. Originally, he had a plan. He wanted to go to the Palace of Heaven Dao City to see it. It would be even better if he could get the Seagud's heart. After all, with that thing, the Seagud position is equivalent to half of it. The inheritance of the divine position is a shortcut to becoming a god. There is a convenient way to become a god, so why not use it? As for the chance to rob Tang San or something, sigh, this kind of thing isn't once or twice. Even his wife has been robbed, not to mention a mere god position. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224 Almost Fell In. Yes, Hu Jiu had been working on the idea of the Sea God's Heart for a long time. After all, with the Sea God's Heart, he could go to Sea God Island and quickly increase his spirit power level. Even if he couldn't become a god, the gains would not be to small point. However, although the Xiandao imperial family did not know the goods, and did not know the name of the Sea God's Heart, they also regarded it as a treasure, as if it was some kind of royal treasure, and only the emperor could control it. It is still very difficult to get it. Good planning is required. Moreover, Kyan Ringsu, who pretended to be the crown prince, was also there. This girl is also a pitiful person. Of course, these are things to come later. The most important thing now is to improve your strength, increase your training speed 10 times, and improve your strength as soon as possible. For 10 days, the 50-year spirit ring's lifespan was increased every day, and the second spirit ring change was also increased to 10,000 years on this day. The upgraded soul skill change has an outstanding effect, not only changing the appearance of people, but also soul beasts. Just like now, Hu Jiu has transformed into a rabbit with always red eyes, the size of a puppy, white and fluffy, very cute. After getting used to it a little, Hu Jiu's eyes turned, a burst of light lit up on his body, and he teleported to Xiao Wu's room. At this time, it happened to be night, and it was still midnight. In the room, Xiao Wu was sleeping soundly. Hu Jiu, who turned into a little white rabbit, jumped on Xiao Wu's bed and got into the bed. Xiao Wu's bed was fragrant, and Hu Jiu was also drowsy and actually fell asleep in a daze. The next day, Xiao Wu opened her eyes in a daze and felt that there was something fluffy around her, which felt soft to the touch. When he turned his head, his eyes instantly lit up. Ah, where did the rabbit come from? It looks like Xiao Bei. Why are you here? Xiao Wu happily hugged the rabbit in her arms and looked left and right. The rabbit felt stupefied, and a soft touch wrapped him, happily drilled, and found a suitable position to continue enjoying. At this time, Xiao Wu finally felt that something was wrong. This kind of lustful action was definitely not something Xiao Bei could do. So, she threw the rabbit out, her eyes burning with angry flames, looking for death. Watch me fall, Dan. Xiao Wu jumped up instantly and met the rabbit, who was still in the air. Don't, Xiao Wu, it's me. Rabbit spoke, and the voice was Hu Jiu's. What the? Familiar voice made Xiao Wu stop for a moment and looked at the rabbit in front of her, who could only talk in surprise. Little 9, yeah. A pink light flashed on the rabbit's body, and his body instantly changed to the appearance of Hu Jiu. Haha, I'm amazing. Xiao Wu looked at Hu Jiu in front of her in surprise. After hesitating for a while, she thought of something. Your second soul skill has also evolved. Haha, yes. Am I super powerful? Hu Jiu said proudly, but he was still reminiscing about the feeling just now. Although it is not very big, it is still okay. If you can try Zuking's feeling better. This thought flashed through Hu Jiu's mind instantly. You scare me. Xiao Wu raised her fist and smacked Hu Jiu softly twice, and then thought that when he turned into a rabbit just now, he kept arching around his chest, and his face suddenly blushed. I didn't want to scare you. Didn't I want to surprise you? Hu Jiu argued sophistry while hugging Xiao Wu. Yeah, hurry up. They'll all get up later. After enjoying Hu Jiu's embrace for a while, Xiao Wu woke up and pushed him away. Hey, what's the matter? Just get up. When you get up, it's not shameful. Hu Jiu said indifferently. No, hurry up. Xiao Wu pushed Hu Jiu and told him to leave. Okay. We are both old and married, so shy. Hu Jiu muttered, using his teleportation soul skill, and returned to his room. He decided that tonight, instead of flipping Xiao's card, he would flip Keten's card. After a while, clean up and open the door. Outside the door, Humeya, a cat woman in a short white dress, was waiting outside the door with a plate of breakfast. Obediently, Master, you ordered your favorite noodles, try it. Humeya smiled, very well behaved. Well, bring it in, and let me taste it. Hu Jiu responded and nodded. Hu Meia's cooking skills are very good, even noodles are delicious. Looking at Catwoman, who was busy cleaning up the house, Hu Jiu raised her head and asked, Mia, I remember that you were already a 10th level soul master. It has been more than a month since he bought Hu Meia. After his observation, Hu Meia is very honest and seems to like being his maid and arranges his life properly every day. He is also very satisfied and feels that he can properly cultivate it. Yes, sir. Hu Meia paused for a while, then turned around and replied obediently, well, I'll go out later and I'll find you a spirit ring. Hu Jiu smiled. Master, are you going to hunt for a soul ring for me? Hu Meia opened her mouth in surprise, and her voice trembled. Hunting for spirit rings is something she has always dreamed of. Although her martial soul has mutated into this shape, it can still be cultivated. It's a pity that, because of her becoming a Catwoman, she was caught in the auction early and cultivated as a valuable commodity. How could she have a spirit ring and upgrade her level? Why, I don't want to. Looking at the excited Hu Meia, Hu Jiu felt a little amused, but then she felt pity for what happened to her. No, sir, I think so. I dream of it. Hu Meia said loudly, tears falling as soon as she said it. A long list instantly became a tearful man. That's right. You follow me with peace of mind, and no one will dare to bully you in the future. Hu Jiu came to Catwoman, rubbed her head, and said. Catwoman trembled, hugged Hu Jiu, and buried her head in Hu Jiu's arms. Master, thank you for saving me. Meia really doesn't know how to repay your kindness. Otherwise, you want me. When it comes to pleasing people, especially men, she is professionally trained, and no one can compare to her. Puff. Hu Meia's words startled him. How embarrassing. Don't do this. He couldn't help it anymore. Master. Hu Meia called out in a low voice, wanting to refuse but still welcoming, wanting to say something, trying to get away with it, but wanting to say something. Full. At a critical moment, Tang San rescued him. Jiu, are you alright? Hurry up, I'm going to be late for class. Yeah. Hu Meia looked flustered. Hu Jiu also pushed her away, turned around and ran out the door. The temptation was so great that I almost fell into it. How dangerous. Outside the door, Tang San guarded Hu Jiu early, waiting for him to go out. During this period of time, for some unknown reason, Tang San was even more clingy than Wu, following him every day. Like that, he wanted to be tied to him. Little San, Hu Jiu felt that it was necessary for him to talk to him. Although the two of them had a good relationship, it would be wrong for you to go too far than Wu. Chapter 225 Excited Taelang. Little San, why have you been dangling in front of me recently? What's the matter that you can tell me straightly? With our relationship, how can my brother treat you badly? Based on his relationship with Tang San, there was no need for polite words between the two. After sensing Tang San's abnormality, Hu Jiu asked directly. Tang San raised his brows, clinging to his shoulders, and said, that's it. I found that staying by your side can speed up my cultivation, just like when I stayed in the ice and fire eyes of the eyes. Talk about it. Did you get the baby there? Tang San's words made Hu Jiu suddenly realize that this is what happened. With a thought, Hu Jiu's body glowed with ice and fire, and countless red and blue dots appeared around him, as if he was in a dream. That's what you're talking about. Hu Jiu raised her eyebrows, holding Bingan in one hand and raging flame in the other. Yes, that's it. What is this? I feel the blue silver grass cheering. I'm sure that cultivation in such an environment will definitely more than double the speed of cultivation. Tang San knew Binghuo through just a brief perception field benefits. Of course, this is the field of ice and fire, which was formed after I took 2 dragon pills in the eyes of the 2 instruments of ice and fire. Hu Jiu whispered, but you have to keep it a secret, since you took the dragon pills. I found that the ice and fire eyes are weakening there, but I can't let the old guy Dugubo find out. Binghuo. Liang Gai's eyes were weakening, which made Tang San quite a pity. But in exchange, Jiu has the ice and fire domain, which is not a loss. By the way, what is this ice and fire domain? Why haven't I heard of it? Tang San asked, after I have the ice and fire domain. I can be immune to the general attacks of the attributes of ice and fire. And in the ice and fire domain, I can mobilize the power of ice and fire to attack. As long as I'm in the ice and fire domain, I can also delay and burn the opponent. Of course, it can also speed up the growth of plants like the eyes of ice and fire. I guess what you said is good for your cultivation. That is the power to speed up the growth of plants. Hu Jiu explained his field of ice and fire. Seeing Tang San was very interested, he simply took him to the training ground to test it out. So, this is a domain. It's amazing. Tang San almost drooled with envy. I just said, why I'm the only one who made such a discovery. It turns out that my blue silver grass is a plant. After knowing Hu Jiu's ice and fire domain, Tang San's eyes were warm. Hu Jiu, I have something to discuss with you. No, don't even think about it. I only sleep with women, not men. Hu Jiu took Tang San's hand away, disgusting him, but I found that I can't leave you now. Tang San smiled and leaned over again, ignoring Hu Jiu's disgusting eyes. Fuck off, little three, are you crooked? Hu Jiu said angrily point at the same time. It feels very strange. Remember, Tang San is not this character. Can the environment really change a person? Because there is one more him. So Tang San is a little bit off from the original. You've grown crooked. Tang San retorted indifferently point. No matter what you say, it's just as if you didn't hear it. Mainly to rub into Hu Jiu's aura of the ice and fire domain. And you can say whatever you want point. Hu Jiu couldn't do anything about him. After all, it was just a breath of the realm, and it had no effect on him. As a good brother, it's not normal to support his brother's cultivation. When he came to the classroom, Taelong ran up to Tang San, just like when Tang San faced Hu Jiu just now. So, Tang San's shameless energy was learned from Taelong. Hu Jiu pondered point. It looks like I need to beat this kid again point. Taelong, who was fawning on Tang San, accidentally noticed Hu Jiu's malicious gaze and suddenly felt a chill in his heart. 9. Brother 9, do you have any orders, ever? Since he learned that Tang San was his young master, this kid said he wanted to be his bodyguard to protect his safety, pestering Tang San every day, making Tang San helpless because of this. He got acquainted with other people in Shrek's 9 monsters, especially Hu Jiu, the eldest among the 9 monsters, which impressed him even more. Not only did he beat his father, but he was also able to fight with his grandfather monsters in. It's nothing. It's just that your kid's strength is progressing too slowly, let alone protecting Tang San. It's more or less the same for Tang San to protect you. Hu Jiu said in a flat tone. Hearing this, Taelong was instantly hit with a fatal blow point. Hu Jiu was right. The young master is level 45, and he is only level 37. It's hard to say who will protect who point, but Tyrone is the unyielding Tyrone. How can this little blow knock him down? My strength is indeed a little weak, but I will work harder. Even if I don't want this life, I have to protect the young master. Taelong clenched his fist. His tone was firm and persistent, and he had the spirit of seeing death. Good boy, I will reward you. Hu Jiu threw a ginseng to him. Of course, it only doubled the speed of cultivation point. He really appreciates Tyrone like this. I don't mind cultivating it either. This is. Taelong looked at the ginseng in his hand suspiciously, not understanding what it meant. Hurry up and accept it. It's a good thing. It's good for you to eat it when you're cultivating. Tang San touched Taelong and gestured with his eyes. Thank you, 9th brother. Taelong came back to his senses, although he didn't know the reason, but looking at Tang San's appearance, this thing must be a good thing. Small idea, if you think the effect is not bad, you can come to me in the future. Of course, the money must be prepared. Hu Jiu showed a skilled smile on his face. He has always been warm and friendly towards customers. Didn't Dainube also come here like this? After class, Taelong did not go home, but returned to the college dormitory. He took out double the amount of Hu ginseng that Hu Jiu gave him, and ate it with suspicion. The moment he ate it, he only felt a warm current in his body radiating to his whole body, and his soul power instantly became active. Not daring to neglect He hurriedly entered a state of meditation. An hour later, when the meditation was over, Tyrone opened his eyes with an incredible expression on his face. He has already felt the extraordinariness of cultivating ginseng. Compared with usual, the effect of this time's cultivation has been about doubled. At the same time, he also understood the fundamental reason why the Shrek 9 devils were so young, yet their spirit power level was so high. All this is Hu Jiu's Hushin effect. Money, I have money. With the great opportunity in front of him, Taelong was not calm. Waving the money bag, Taelong hurriedly ran to Hu Jiu's dormitory. It's a pity that Hu Jiu has already gone out at this time. On the outskirts of Shandao City, in the sky, two eagles flapped their wings and flew towards the sunset forest. One of them, as if he had just learned to fly, was crooked, as if he was drunk, making people wonder if it would fall from the sky in the next instant. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.